the story of planet growth. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 201, The Master of Creation. When the Pangu clan used the power of the gods in the celestial sphere to summon the god of creation, Noah, the phantoms of the gods that were blocked in the celestial sphere by the Pangu barrier appeared in the eternal kingdom. Suran, what on earth do you want to do? You have humiliated us again and again. You want to extract our power. Do you really want to break with the gods? The roars of the gods roared in the sky of the eternal kingdom, as if the heaven and earth were angry, and the entire eternal kingdom was in turmoil. However, this turmoil disappeared instantly at the command of Suran, as if it had never appeared. You are talking too much nonsense. You should have known your fate when you were trapped in the barrier by me. Now, make contributions to the new world honestly, and I will give you a peaceful death. The gods are immortal. Sooner or later, we will escape from the trap. At that time, everything you have will be destroyed by the wrath of the gods. I will wait and see. I want to see how you escape. However, that is a matter of the future. Now, all of you go back to me. With the order of Suran, the Zacian star fighting Arashon with boundless light. Countless rays of divine light pulled the will of the gods that had temporarily escaped from the Zacian stars back into the seal of the Zacian stars. After the irritable gods disappeared, Suran said calmly to the members of the Pangu clan, "Everyone, continue." Under Suran's guidance, a mysterious handprint took shape between the hands of the Pangu clan. As the handprint was formed, boundless and vast divine power gathered in the dark. The creator, born with the will of the entire Pangu clan, was slowly bred in the depths of the void. The original spirit of the past, the divine body of the present, and the will of the future. An alternative trinity form, a brand new trinity of holiness was bred in the hands of the Pangu clan. A human body and a dragon tail, born sacred, the creator. In the prehistoric sky, the starlight as bright as the sun illuminated the stars in the sky. The power of the heavens gathered and turned into the creator, the supreme divine body of Noah. Buzz. A sound that shook the heavens and the earth rang out in the world, and the eternal sun seemed to be about to fall, slowly changing its previous position. After a while, a huge star different from the original sun appeared in the Pangu barrier, forming the abnormal astronomical phenomenon of two suns born. Big drops of sweat gradually appeared on the foreheads of all the Pangu clan members, and then evaporated into nothingness. It was a very difficult thing to create a master who had never existed in the void. Even though Surenshi, with the support of Pangu god clan, was already the second level of saint, the Dawn Saint, facing the birth of a master, it was a bit strenuous. The divine sound shook the power, commanded the great power of heaven and earth, forcibly gathered boundless divine power, and condensed the divine body of the master of creation. With the operation of Pangu god clan, the new sun in the sky began to gradually slide downwards, like the sky falling. The mighty fall of the divine body of the master of creation was like the reappearance of the destruction of heaven and earth closing, and all things being destroyed. Under the control of Pangu god clan, the huge stars fell towards the prehistoric land in a seemingly slow, but very unshakable trend. The magnificent sacred sound sounded between heaven and earth, with the magnificence of destruction and rebirth, with the oppression of heaven and earth closing, with the momentum of all things returning to the same, resounding through the stars in the sky. In the god realm, Aoling, the sleeping master who was divided into two, and turned into the will of the god realm. However, under the might of the birth of the Lord of Creation, he slowly woke up from his deep sleep. He cast his eyes into the prehistoric realm. Pangu clan, how audacious. The current time and space are already dominated by you, but you still don't want to let go of the rule of the past time and space. In this case, then you don't want to have an easy life. The magnificent will of the Lord shuttled through the barriers of time and space, and descended to the Phoenix star in the depths of the sea of stars. Avoiding the perception range of the vermilion bird, Aoling's will descended on the lower plane of the Phoenix star. With the help of a wisp of spiritual energy from the lower plane, he carried his own will, and turned into the most common herbivorous race on the Zuanling continent, the spark rabbit. The fiery red fur is like flowing lava, full of dangerous breath. No mistakes in one poem, one post, one content, one book, one forum, 1619, one book, one forum, one look. As it leaped into the air, its sharp fangs fiercely pierced into the roots of the kingman grass like the sharpest dagger. At this time, the spark rabbit, which was transformed by Aoling's will, was fighting fiercely with the kingman grass, rooted in the earth. Under the influence of spiritual energy and the power of the gods, even a blade of grass in the Zuanling continent was a fierce and brutal predator. The kingman grass pulled its roots out from under the earth. The thick and slender roots with soil were like sharp whips. It whipped fiercely in the sky, causing a sharp and piercing hissing sound. The roots carried on the roots were like sickles, harvesting the spark rabbit. On the Zuanling continent, any creature is a super warrior who has been honed on the battlefield for a long time. They are proficient in various fierce and vicious killing methods. Using these methods, these creatures can achieve the greatest hunting results in the shortest way. This peculiar situation is derived from the large-scale invasion of dragon blood beasts, which left traces. Although the fighting power of kingman grass is extremely powerful, and it can even be called the tyrant of the grassland, it is so vulnerable to its natural enemy, the spark rabbit. The lava flames on the spark rabbit's fur are like the most brutal hellfire. It mercilessly burns the roots of kingman grass, turning it into ashes, and eventually becomes food in the mouth of the spark rabbit. Aoling, who turned into a spark rabbit, constantly chews the local information contained in the kingman grass, and then searches deep in the blood of the kingman grass for the traces of the human demon Luohao, one of the 3 void demons who once descended into the material world. Once, the human demon Luohao divided everything of himself into countless tiny fragments, and thus passed the baptism of the reincarnation channel, and descended into the material world. At that time, as the supreme existence of the world of the heavens, Aoling naturally needed to know where Luohao was. After Aoling's long observation, he found that Luohao had changed his form of existence. They transformed into countless living beings scattered across the heavens, waiting to be resurrected in the material world in the distant future. This time, in order to awaken Luohao's will, and use him as a means to interfere with Pandu, Aoling decided to personally shorten the time for Luohao to revive. Chapter 202, The Birth of Human Race, Part 1. On the Zuanling continent, a huge strange creature was rampant in the wasteland. It killed different species in the wasteland everywhere. The scarlet blood was gnawed by the strange creature's fangs, and spread all over the land, leaving a mess. As the strange creature was constantly killing and evolving, the shape of its body became more and more distorted. Even in the end, it was difficult to say that the strange creature was a biological existence. Various biological characteristics were constantly reorganized on the body of the strange creature like a puzzle, making the influence of the strange creature distorted and weird. This strange species evolved from the spark rabbit formed by Aoling's will combined with the local spiritual energy. As for how the spark rabbit evolved into this ghost appearance, it had to start from the spark rabbit killing the first local species, and absorbing the blood in its body to evolve and derive. In this world once ruled by the dragon clan, the existence of the powerful dragon god was imitated and applied by the gods of the heavens. This imitation and application was even very popular in the demon world. That is to let the creatures in the lower world evolve their bloodlines constantly, so as to get closer to a powerful existence, until the final bloodline is resurrected. And everything Aoling is doing now is to revive Luohao, so as to carry out targeted bloodline reorganization. All bloodlines with the breath of Luohao are kept, and all bloodlines without the breath of Luohao are discarded. After so many times of reorganization of the puzzle, Aoling's body is getting closer and closer to the opportunity of Luohao's resurrection. After killing a wilderness behemoth again, Aoling controlled the strange creatures to gnaw on the body of the wilderness behemoth, and collected the existing bloodline of Luohao's breath from the body of the wilderness behemoth. Bah! What a messy bloodline. Now Luohao's bloodline purity has only reached 50%. And I have hunted 90% of the creatures outside the city in this world. Only the remaining 10% still exist under the protection of the gods, and these 10% of creatures occupy 50% of Luohao's bloodline purity. In this way, Luohao's plan is not small. On the bodies of creatures in each world, there are backups left by the gods, but the number is different. As long as you follow a fixed process, you can quickly search for the power left by the once powerful gods. The purer the blood of the creatures, the more the will of the gods tends to that direction. When Aoling was thinking about whether to rush directly into the gathering place of the creatures on the Zuanling continent and start hunting, in the prehistoric realm, Noah, the master of creation created by the Pangu clan, descended on the desolate and silent prehistoric continent with the fall of the sun and stars. As the body of the creator approached the earth, an extremely powerful vitality began to breed under the earth, thus forming a situation where all things grow. When Noah turned into a human-shaped body and touched the earth with her toes, the great power from the creator had already turned the barren continent into a wild world full of vitality and rampant beasts. However, under the suppression of the Pangu barrier, no creature in this wild world could have wisdom. After all, the Pangu clan wanted to create a new race, not the revival of the old race. In the body of the creator, all the knowledge collected by the Pangu clan over the years was stored in his soul. The achievements of the Pangu clan over the years were presented on his body. The idea of creating a new world for the Pangu clan constituted the will of the creator. Theoretically, at this moment, the birth of the creator was only for the creation of humans. However, due to the importance of the new world, the Pangu clan still sent one of the foremost powerful ancient gods in the clan to assist, and also to monitor the work of the Lord of Creation. Although the Lord of Creation is very powerful, this power is built under the Pangu barrier. Within the Pangu barrier, the Lord of Creation is as terrifying as the saints who are superior to the ancient gods. A single word can determine the affairs of the world, and a wave of his hand can shake the 3,000 worlds. However, facing the powerful ancient god who is one of the builders of the Pangu barrier, the Lord of Creation can only be on par with him. At this time, the Lord of Creation is in a state of rebirth, and everything about him is blank. Although the knowledge from the last era exists in his soul, it does not mean that he is at the peak of the old era in an instant. You must know that knowledge is knowledge, and he is just a reflection of an era. When knowledge has not interacted with the world and affected the world to change, it is impossible for the Lord of Creation to verify the right and wrong of knowledge. Descending on the earth, the Lord of Creation at this time is like a newborn child, full of curiosity about this world. When he walked, sat, and lay on the earth, the heaven and earth obeyed his will, and all things followed his guidance. The whole world was turning in the hands of the Master of Creation. No mistakes in one poem, one post, one content, one 6, one 9, one book, one bar. Every time the world is changed, the Master of Creation uses what he has to exchange with the unchanging world. The world harvests new results, and Nuwa verifies the process. When the Master of Creation Nuwa was having fun, the sky changed again. Another big sun appeared in the sky, which complemented the original sun, forming a strange phenomenon of two suns rising at the same time. The first sun that descended to the earth was the Master of Creation Nuwa. The second sun that descended to the earth was one of the 4 strongest ancient gods of the Pangu clan. However, unlike the previous Master of Creation Nuwa who descended to the prehistoric land, the birth of the ancient god this time was blocked by an unknown existence. In the shattering of a distorted time and space, a strange and inexplicable powerful force launched a fierce battle with one of the 4 ancient gods. In just a moment, one of the 4 strongest ancient gods of the Pangu clan was severely injured by the power from an unknown source. As a result, he fell towards the primitive land like a falling meteor. The light that cut through the sky shone on the world, and the powerful power from the fall of the ancient god shook everything between heaven and earth. The words of surprise and surprise came out of the mouth of Nuwa, the Master of Creation. I have been looking for so long, and finally a second companion has appeared. In Nuwa's consciousness, he is the god of creation born from the nature of heaven and earth, and is one of the founding stars in the Zaoshan. Naturally, the ancient god who fell from the sky was regarded as his companion. A companion with similarities is a companion. When the powerful existence of one of the 4 ancient gods turned into a star and fell, Surin and the Eternal Kingdom roared angrily, "You are looking for death." In an instant, a brilliant light burst out from the Zaoshan star universe of Pangu's barrier. In front of this dawn, that seemed like the arrival of light, the strange existence hidden in the unknown space roared in pain like a ghost in the sun. Thick black magic fog appeared at the edge of Pangu's barrier, and a burst of extremely crazy laughter sounded in the Zaushan starry sky. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 203, The Birth of Human Race. Unreal, weird, unpredictable. A lot of unpredictable chaos exists at the edge of the barrier, causing some turbulence in Pangu's barrier. Surin leaped out of the Eternal Kingdom and reached the edge of the barrier in one step. The extremely powerful force of dawn blocked everything around. Suppress the weird existence above Pangu's barrier, let it shrink continuously, and finally reduce it to an extremely small weird origin. At this moment, Pangu, who turned into dawn and presented the world with light, looked at the weird origin and asked with a thunderous voice, "Who are you? The god of the new world, as sacred as you are, don't you know my identity? If so, I'm so disappointed." The weird origin said leisurely in the dawn blockade, "Counting all the gods and demons in the sky, there are only a few who can oppose me. And I think there is no other god who has the ability in time except the demon boson." Pangu said very confidently. Pa pa pa. Applause of praise rang out in the vastness, and the demon Piozon smiled and said, "As expected of the god of the new world, you are smart. But even if you know who I am, what can you do? My roots exist in the void, before you have found my roots. All your attacks are illusions, and they cannot cause any harm to me. Gods that exist in the bright world, I wonder what you can do to a demon like me, that exists in the dark." As he spoke, the strange origin of the demon Piozon that was blocked in the Pangu dawn exploded instantly, turning into an illusory scene, and then escaped the blockade of Pangu dawn. After the demon Piozon jumped out, Pangu spread his own dawn in the entire realm in an instant, searching for traces of the demon Piozon's existence. Dividing line in the sky, a huge sun slid down the sky and fell towards the earth. With a roar, the dust in the sky drifted everywhere, leaving a hazy mark on everything. The god of creation, Noah, came to the area where the ancient god fell and frowned slightly as she looked at the dust flying all over the sky. She waved her hands casually, and the endless wind was driven. In a moment, the place where the ancient god fell showed signs of being complete. On the earth, countless traces of shattered things like spider webs were densely distributed around the hole, and it seemed as if a sacred ceremony was formed around the central hole. In the track of the earth full of cracks, red lava erupted from the ground, resulting in countless gorgeous and strange landscapes. Noah walked towards the hole in the center of the crack, came to the edge of the hole, and passed through the endless hole tunnel. Then she saw the existence floating above the magma, one of the four ancient gods of the Pangu clan. With her hands dancing slightly, the power of heaven and earth followed, and with the command of the god of creation, the earth began to shake inch by inch. The dents in the hole were rapidly pushed by the divine power and quickly surged upwards. After a while, an ancient god wrapped in rags appeared in front of Nuwa. Jiangchen, one of the four ancient gods of Pangu clan, was one of the four most powerful ancient gods in the entire Pangu clan. Jiangchen was in the most miserable moment in his history. Countless cracks were like gullies, cracking his body inch by inch. The red blood of the gods kept dripping into the lava, turning the lava into all kinds of strange and inexplicable beasts of heaven and earth, active in the underground world. Under the attack of the demon Piozon and the fierce friction of the strong wind layer, Jiangchen's condition was miserable. The magma turned into power, pushing Jiangchen up, and the lava turned into a platform to support Jiangchen's body. With the cooperation of the two, Jiangchen came to Nuwa. "Is this my fellow tribesman? It's really miserable," Nuwa narrated leisurely, while gently stroking her palm on Jiangchen's bruised body. The supreme power of creation surged into the body of General ZHI, helping General ZHI to recover his original appearance. Under Nuwa's treatment, the scars on General ZHI's body recovered at a speed visible to the naked eye. After a while, a full and healthy body was restored. But if that's all, it's unrealistic to want a severely injured ancient god to revive again. The power of the ancient gods lies not only in their strong physical bodies, but also in their past and the future supported by the past. Restoring the body is only the first step in the revival of the ancient gods. And if you want General ZHI to wake up from his serious injuries, you still need to awaken his past. So, after General ZHI's injuries were healed, Noah pointed her finger on General ZHI's forehead. Then, a wave of soul began to penetrate into General ZHI's body. However, everything was different from what Noah expected. At this time, General ZHI's soul was completely blank, with almost no trace of the past. It was like a blank scroll, with nothing recorded on it. It's really strange. Doesn't he have a past? For the ancient gods, the best way to wake them up is to stimulate them from the outside world. Take advantage of the ancient gods' emphasis on their past and wake them up. But the premise of all this is that the ancient gods have the past in their souls. And now Jiang Chen's soul is completely blank and Nuwa's eyes, except for emptiness, it is nothingness. If you lose your soul, you will become a zombie. If you lose your body, you will become a ghost. And if you lose your breath, you will become a corpse. The soul is the past, the body is the present, and the breath is the future. And now, you who have lost the past have already lost the future, so you can only be called a zombie. As a powerful existence that exists in the past, present, and future. Although Noah has not completed her mission at this time, and thus merged with the creation, she has achieved the result of proving the Tao. But this does not hinder Noah's broad knowledge at all. As a powerful existence that connects to the past, Noah can know all the known information recorded in the past at any time. Unless the information in the past is blocked by a powerful existence, Noah is omniscient to a certain extent. This omniscience is special, and Noah must know if she can ask. What Noah doesn't know, she can't ask. No mistakes. One post, one content, 1629 book, one forum, one look. Looking at Jiang Chen, who was in deep sleep, Noah said softly, "Since you have lost your past, then from now on, at this moment, you will be born into the world." How powerful is the power of the master, just between words, can determine the birth of an ancient god. Although there is a trick this time, it does not affect the power of Noah. After all, not all beings can give a new life to an ancient god. The red divine pupils bloomed with brilliant divine light as the eyelids opened. When Jiang Chen opened his eyes again, his past was derived again. In his lively eyes, he was full of curiosity about the world and gratitude to Noah. At this moment, Jiang Chen was like a newborn baby. Although he had infinite power, his heart was pure at this moment. Noah looked at Jiang Chen's clear eyes looking at her, and she felt happy. Is this the look of a new life? Maybe I know where my mission lies. Noah, who was born with the power of creation, was naturally curious about all new things, and was even more delighted by those who were created by her own hands. With the awakening of Jiang Chen, the predetermined fate began to operate again. The sacred existence from the dark, wielding the pen of destiny in his hand, embellished the outline of the future on the unknown scroll of destiny. Out of the joy of the new life, Noah began to obey his mission, and thus wandered between heaven and earth, pursuing the unknown new life. Jiang Chen followed closely behind Noah, guarding Noah's existence step by step. Wandering in the mountains and rivers, stepping on the rivers and seas, pursuing the unknown new life. The traces of Noah were constantly imprinted in this world. In this process, the blood of the fallen gods and demons turned into various colors of soil. They were also collected by Noah one by one, and used as materials for creating new life. One day, when Noah walked to a river beach, the guidance from the unknown became stronger and stronger. Finally, Noah stayed on the river beach, watching the flow of the river, and feeling the existence of vitality. Everything in the world is in motion all the time, and this constant movement adds endless vitality to the world. If you want to make the world full of vitality, you can only let the movement last forever. But this kind of movement is just a fixed law to a certain extent. It seems to be endless, but it is just another kind of dead silence. Therefore, to make vitality last forever, you can only add a new change to this world. At this moment, I don't know whether it was the guidance from the unknown or Noah's understanding. All the wealth from the past time and space began to slowly gather in Noah's consciousness. Finally, it condensed into the human body that Pangu's clan had worked so hard to create. The human body is the culmination of the power of existence. The human body created by the power of the heavens is undoubtedly the best creation to undertake changes in Noah's view at this time. The human body is also called the perfect body, and it is also called the body of natural damage. As the saying goes, there are flaws everywhere, and there are no flaws. The balance created by the power of the heavens on the human body has created the eternal order, and it also hides the derivatives of changes. Creation itself is a manifestation of past knowledge, and the creation that Nuwa wants to create has been perfected by the Pangu clan. What Nuwa has to do is to mass produce this creation. This job seems simple, but it is not simple at all. The human body created by the Pangu clan can be called the essence of the world in the creation completed by the spirit of all spirits. The cost is huge, and if Nuwa wants to popularize this creation, the knowledge content required is also terrifying. However, the birth of the master of creation is the choice made by the Pangu clan to popularize the derivatives of creation. Therefore, this matter can be said to be handy for Nuwa. Chapter 204, The Demon Ancestor is Born. At the river beach, the god of creation Nuwa and the lost ancient god Jiangchen stood quietly on the beach rocks. Nuwa closed her eyes and meditated, looking for ways to popularize the great creations of the Pangu clan in the past. Jiangchen stood solemnly, like a minister guarding the king. The human body contains the mysteries of heaven and earth and the essence of all living things. It can be said to be a strange creation made by heaven and earth. And if you want to popularize this creation on a large scale, the amount of work required is amazing. In order to complete this plan, the Pangu clan did not hesitate to turn against the gods, started the creation war, ended the endless reincarnation, and condensed the god of creation. And now, the appearance of the god of creation and the process of proving the truth are the final results of the development of events promoted by the Pangu clan. In order to give birth to the human race, the tightly closed eyes suddenly opened, and endless divine light bloomed in Nuwa's pupils, and infinite mysteries flowed in her eyes, which contained the life structure diagram of the entire human race. As the wisdom of the past condensed into Nuwa's consciousness, under the guidance of the will of the master of creation, the river beach has undergone earth-shaking changes. Endless energy gathered between heaven and earth, and the vast power of the master can make everything turbulent. All the structures between heaven and earth are twisted and gathered into shape according to Nuwa's will. In the river beach in front of him, endless matter and power are combined with each other, forming endless mysterious essences. Bones, meridians, blood vessels, internal organs, acupoints and blood. A series of divine structures quickly took shape on the river beach, adhering to the great power of the ocean stars, inheriting the blood of gods and demons, and gathering the luck of all races in heaven and earth. A divine species that almost occupies the entire prehistoric realm, even the prehistoric radiation realm, appeared in the material world. A series of brilliant divine lights shone between heaven and earth, and the brilliance of human figures gradually took shape under the will of creation. In just one day, 129,600 human ancestors appeared in Nuwa's hands, and stood on the river beach. At this time, the ancestors of the human race were not complete creatures. They were just perfect dead things. No matter how perfect their appearance was, the lack of soul was their biggest flaw. The human body was formed by the balance of countless bloodlines. The initial human body was not strong, even according to the overall quality of the ancient myriad races. The physical quality of the human race was only in the middle and lower levels. It was a race that was good at self-preservation, but not aggressive enough. However, this body was the most suitable for the soul to enter, so that it could burst out with infinite potential. By combining the soul and the body, the myriad races of the ancient myriad races were strong, but too single. The existence of gods allowed these powerful races to keep moving towards the goal and eventually reach the realm of gods. The consequence of this was that once these races lost the guidance of gods, they would lose their driving force. After all, they were used to climbing up along the existing road. If they suddenly had to open up a road with their own strength, they would just wash their hands and go to bed. Although the human race was weak at this time, it had the ability to protect itself. If a person who could expand it appeared one day, the human race would collectively take a step forward. In short, although the human race was weak, it had unlimited potential. As the god of creation Nuwa completed the initial popularization of the human body, Aingao, who had always existed in the other shore and prevented the reincarnation of all souls with his own will, seemed to have completed his mission and released the restrictions on reincarnation. In an instant, the surging soul ocean broke through the frozen shackles like a roaring beast and went to reincarnation in the heavens and all realms. Under Gao's continuous persistence for decades, the reincarnation of humanity has formed a fixed rule and thus exists in reincarnation. Countless souls passed through the reincarnation of humanity and reincarnated into the new human race. However, because Gao had prevented reincarnation for many years, the soul torrent caused by the huge impact force rushed countless initial souls to the endless other shore. This has resulted in an embarrassing situation, where there are few souls that can enter the human reincarnation. However, this is not a problem for Nuwa. When the soul reincarnation is opened, Nuwa's will is like a divine oracle of heaven, forcibly absorbing high quality souls from the soul torrent into the human reincarnation. After being infiltrated by the tunnel fire, it turns into the soul of the human race and reincarnates into the body of the ancestor of the human race. What is a high quality soul? It is a person with a strong soul. The soul carries memories, and these memories are the root of the torture suffered in the soul reincarnation. But memory is also one of the important factors that make the soul strong. So how to forget quickly, so as to avoid the soul being broken into a large number of fragments by reincarnation, is the problem of the reincarnated person himself. When alive, accumulate memories to strengthen the soul. After death, quickly forget the memory to avoid the damage caused by reincarnation. This is an important component of a high quality soul. The condition for forming such a soul is to have a clear conscience and no regrets. At this time, the souls captured by Nuwa and baptized by the human tunnel fire are almost all of extremely high quality. After these souls are injected into the human body, the purity of the soul and the powerful sealing ability of the human body tightly combine the soul and body of the human ancestor. The soul will that does not break the inherent order does not have the authority to control the energy of heaven and earth. As the soul and body are closely combined, the human ancestors who once seemed to be dead opened their black eyes one after another. At this time, there is only infinite emptiness and nothingness in their eyes. High quality souls usually mean super memory, super control, super perception and other superpowers that are superior to ordinary souls. The difference between high quality souls and low quality souls is that one is born with super storage space and can easily store all information. This information includes memory, control, and even a series of sensory enhancements such as perception. The other is always in a state of restriction, and every progress will produce a strong sense of restriction. Breaking through this restriction means taking a step forward, and failing to break through means not making any progress in life. When the soul enters the body, the shackles from the body will firmly restrict the growth of the soul, thus giving it infinite pressure. No mistakes in one song, one post, one content, 1/6, 1/9, one book, one bar, and will exists in the contest between the growth of the soul and the shackles of the body. In the process of the growth of the soul and the confrontation with the shackles of the body, that is when the gene lock is opened. The numerous memories are the food for the growth of the soul, and the memories imprinted on the soul are the essence of the soul. The more you remember, the faster the soul grows, and the faster you can reach the existing soul limit. The deeper you remember, the stronger the improvement of the soul's essence, and the more opportunities there are to improve the existing soul limit. This result leads to being more handy when you are alive. However, this is when you are alive, and after death, everything in your life will turn into a nightmare, and everything will be reversed. If you can't forget, you will only move towards hell step by step, and eventually fall into hell, and never be reborn. The struggle between life and death, the repetition between fate and reincarnation, this will be the eternal topic of the human race. Noah looked at the ancestor of the human race with empty eyes, and sighed slightly. The weak have no qualifications to survive in this world, and you who are the carriers of my way. Whether you can survive in this world depends on the will of heaven. As she said, Nuwa's figure slowly disappeared in front of the ancestor of the human race, and behind Nuwa, the lost ancient god generals did the same. Nuwa's mission is to create humans, and when the creation of humans is completed, Nuwa, as the master of creation, will end her mission. Nuwa's soul exists in the past, and Nuwa's will exists in the future, and what supports the existence of both is the human race derived from Nuwa's way of creation. When the human race that supports the foundation of Nuwa's dominance is completed, it will be time for Nuwa to leave. As a race created by the Pangu gods with untold hardships, the human race does not need the interference of gods. The human body is enough to provide all the knowledge for the human race to grow. The human soul is enough to provide the starting key for the human race to become stronger. The human will is enough to provide the firm belief in the existence of the human race. Perhaps at the beginning, the human race will encounter major hardships. But once the human race survives the hardships, the strong learning ability of the human ancestors will quickly complete the accumulation of original resources, thus rapidly entering the era of development. As long as you don't die, you will become stronger and stronger, and this is the definition of the human race. Dividing line in the prehistoric realm, the human ancestors were just born, and slowly explored the unknown road. In the Phoenix Star, after a long period of searching and slaughtering, Aoling, who turned into an indescribable monster, finally put together the specific conditions required for Luohao's revival. When the blood purity reached 95%, an inexplicable and strange existence was rapidly emerging in Aoling's consciousness. A deep voice was slowly circulating. Feel my call. Accept my existence. Acknowledge my will. Submit everything to me. Come. Come. Confused creature, I will be with you. The strange voice of Luohao sounded in Aoling's consciousness, trying to assimilate Aoling's consciousness, thereby devouring Aoling's will, and turning it into the basis of his own resurrection. However, facing this strange voice, that was enough to drag the upper gods into the abyss. Aoling said lightly, okay, don't play tricks. I won't fall for your tricks. Come out quickly, I have something to do with you. As Aoling's words echoed in his consciousness, a fuzzy existence gradually walked out from the depths of his consciousness, and smiled at Aoling and said, I'm the ancestor of the demon clan, Tangshan. You overestimated me, and I will miss the 10,000 word update. I really have no motivation. Chapter 205, Battle between Gods and Demons. Demon Race. How come you want to create a new race like Pangu to replace the old ones? Ever since the Pangu incident, Aoling has been very disgusted with this kind of behavior of starting a new business. So much so that, when he heard the new word demon race, he couldn't help but want to oppose it. However, this disgust only existed for a moment, and was strongly suppressed by Aoling's will. The split in hell actually affected the main body. It seems that it is time to clean it up and correct it. With the rise of inexplicable disgust, Aoling said secretly in his heart, the Lord of the God realm and the Lord of Hell are two sides of the same coin, and the relationship between them is in a state of mutual balance. Once an imbalance occurs in one aspect, the strong side will affect the weak side, resulting in a change in its character. Therefore, under this state of checks and balances, the gods of the God realm will occasionally clean up everything in hell, so as to suppress the imbalanced part. Hell is a tool to help the gods grow stronger, not the main body that dominates the gods. The gods' attachment to the past will be transformed into planes, and thus exist in hell, thereby promoting the progress of the gods in disguise. In response to Aoling's doubts and faintly scolding tone, the being who was once Luohao and now calls himself Tangshan said frankly, no, the so-called demon race is not the name of a brand new race. It is just a collection of all existences. The demon race is a general term, and the definition of the demon race is all spiritual life between heaven and earth. No matter whether it is powerful or not, no matter whether it is humble or not, as long as it desires to exist, it is a demon race. The demon race recognizes the existence of all things, and allows them to develop naturally. Ultimately, in the endless competition, supreme glory is achieved. In my opinion, doesn't the existence of the demon race conform to the principles that the god has always followed? In Tangshan's narration, an all-encompassing and all-accommodating concept of the demon race slowly appeared in front of Aoling. I never thought that, since the departure of the three emperors, the ambitions of all of you have been so astonishing. The Killing God clan transformed into the Pangu God clan wants to destroy everything in the old world and open up a new world. For this reason, they did not hesitate to turn against the gods and start a war of gods. And you want to command everything and achieve a status similar to that of His Majesty the Emperor. It seems that for so many years, my dragon clan has been lagging behind. On the surface, the idea of Tangshan's demon clan is just to take over the command of everything, so as to incorporate everything into the various orders that Aoling has always followed. However, the difference between Tangshan's demon clan and Aoling's dragon clan is that Aoling's dragon clan pursues internal competition and kills external creatures in order to greatly accelerate the hope of strengthening the dragon clan. Although Tangshan's demon clan follows the same principles as the dragon clan, their competition is indistinguishable. Even if it is a race that has existed under Tangshan's rule for a long time, once it is not as strong as the external creatures, Tangshan will abandon the weak without hesitation and protect the strong. No. I just think that instead of putting most of the energy on a mere tribe, it is better to directly accept all races and let them decide the winner in the competition, so as to achieve the level of the strong living and the weak dying. After all, the rules we follow are all the freedom of all kinds of frost. We should not favor a certain race, we should put them on an equal footing. Let them develop freely to realize our ultimate ideal, the world's equal order. The same is strong, the different is weak. Eliminate the differences and make everything close to the same. Isn't this the ultimate goal that you and I are looking forward to? Tangshan told his own ideas. At this time, Tangshan was like an idealist, outlining a beautiful world belonging to him in front of Aoling. However, this seemingly beautiful world is disgusting to Aoling. Although Aoling adheres to the principle of competition, Aoling's competition is to give him the right to compete equally only when everything is brought under the rule of the dragon clan. As for those creatures that are outside the dragon clan will kill them without hesitation, devour them and turn them into the foundation of the dragon clan. In short, no matter what, the meat will always rot in the pot. However, Tangshan's approach directly abandoned a crucial transformation process, thereby directly granting all races the right to compete freely. It is just a difference in procedures, but the impact brought about is a difference in concepts. As the saying goes, heretics are more hateful than pagans. The two pursue the same concept, but the results are worlds apart. However, after all, Aoling's will is very firm, and he is not the kind of believer who devotes himself wholeheartedly to the embrace of the gods. So although Aoling has some disgust for Tangshan, it does not affect the cooperation between the two. Well, I'm not interested in your ideas. Although your description is beautiful, the final result is that everything is done for you. This is something I absolutely cannot tolerate. I should have drawn a line with you immediately and killed you completely. But this world does not belong to me, so as we are in the same camp, I can tolerate your existence. But the premise is that your ideas must not be spread within the dragon clan. Aoling solemnly warned Tangshan that he would not seek to govern if he was not in his position. Aoling lost his right to rule the world. Then let Pangu worry about this idea of rebellion. The order of the demon clan may be very unfriendly to the weak, but it is the best order for the strong. Because as long as you join the demon clan, you can instantly occupy a high position with your own strength, and thus rule over thousands of demon clans. The demon clan is a paradise for the strong and a hell for the weak. I don't care about the ideas of the weak, because their ideas are just the land where the ideas of the strong are stationed. Only the ideas of the strong are what I need. Tangshan said silently in his heart about the clear line between Aoling and himself. While Aoling and Tangshan were cooperating, outside the prehistoric realm, Pangu, transformed into dawn, was fighting with the demon Piozun in the endless sea of stars. No mistakes. Endless magic fog lingered in all spaces, corroding everything and destroying the existence of all order, turning everything inherent into illusion, and turning all illusion into reality. I'm immortal. Pangu, save your energy. Honestly accept the order of the void. Let the void take root in your heart, and you will be with the void. In the empty space, the voice of the demon Piozun was like a ghost, echoing in all time and space, thus interfering with Pangu's thinking, so as to make him misjudge. At this time, the demon placed his existence in the void, and thus used the power of the void to achieve the power of immortality. Although Pangu could kill it billions of times in an instant, as long as the connection between the demon and the void could not be separated for a moment, the demon would appear in front of Pangu again and again. And as the number of demon deaths increased, Pangu's understanding of it deepened, and the distance between the demon and Pangu became closer and closer. When the demon and Pangu merged into one, it was a time when the demon took over everything of Pangu. Illusion distorts reality, the demon replaces Pangu, the void rules the world, and I will accomplish everything. The inexplicable whisper lingered and echoed in the vast space, like a sacred whisper. Boom. Another tens of thousands of destructions and shatterings. In this moment, the demon's body was destroyed countless times. But in contrast, the distance between the demon and Pangu was one step closer. In the Eternal Kingdom, when Pangu and the demon were fighting, Kangji was concentrating on defining the root of the demon. The words between the gods are very contagious. This contagiousness is a step to power for the weak, but also a shackle of bondage. Power lies in the ability to help the weak grow rapidly, so as to avoid premature death in the process of growth. And the bondage lies in the fact that this growth is in the direction of the gods, and it is easy to fall into the cover of the gods. Thus, it becomes a tool to recognize the existence of the gods. In order to deal with this situation, Kangji wanted to create a kind of words that can be understood, but cannot interfere with the thinking of the weak on a large scale. Just like the demon at this time, the immortality he possessed came from the void, and the existence of the void at this time could not be defined. Because of the destruction of the world by the Pangu clan, everything was out of control. After losing the definition and interference of material creatures, the void was in a strange and inexplicable state. The void could not be understood, which caused the phenomenon that Pangu could not kill the demon. Once he tried to understand the void, the demon would gradually get closer to Pangu. The void is also part of the past, for Pangu who exists in the future. The past is the indicator of all future, and the present is the specific standard for whether the future can be passed. One is the direction, and the other is the standard. Without the direction, the future will be dim. Without the standard, everything will be unrealistic. After the material creatures disappeared at this time, Pangu lost the current standard, which made it impossible for Pangu to judge whether a plan was feasible. In order to fight against this strange situation, Kangji had to infuse the definition of the void into the thinking of the human race. Thus, with the power of the human race, the void, the demon, and the standard were defined. Thus, the necessary conditions were provided for Pangu to defeat the demon, or even eliminate the demon. At this time, the situation Pangu faced was just like MLM. If you don't understand MLM, you can't eliminate it. Once you understand MLM, you will inevitably be interfered with by MLM in your original thinking mode. As a result, your thinking is distorted unconsciously and becomes a tool of MLM. Only by comparing the results of MLM with the results of the outside world can you ensure that you are always on the right path and will not be brainwashed by MLM. For Pangu, the human race's definition of the devil and even the void is the standard of Pangu's firm will. Chapter 206, Death in the World. In the Eternal Kingdom, Kangji quickly established various definitions of the demons. In the lower realm, within the newly born ancestor of the human race, Kangji quickly activated his own isotope. He connected his consciousness with the consciousness of one of the ancestors of the human race, and thus passed his goal to the consciousness of the ancestor of the human race. Create characters, determine the heaven and earth, and shape their own definitions for all things, so that the entire human race can understand them, learn from them, and defeat them. At this time, the human race is in the initial environment of fighting against the heaven and earth. Although because of the cleansing of the Pangu clan, there are almost no powerful beasts in the prehistoric realm at this time. But this does not mean that the prehistoric world is safe at this time, especially for the human race existing in the prehistoric world. For the weak human race at this time, even an ordinary beast can cause serious damage to them, or even the crisis of death. Being born noble does not mean being born strong. For a race like the human race, which has unlimited potential in the future, but is extremely weak now, staying alive is everything. The rotation of the universe is regarded as the embodiment of the will of the gods. The beauty of all things in nature is regarded as the transformation of the bodies of the gods. Everything unknown is regarded as the profound knowledge of the gods. In this new world, the human race reproduces and survives with difficulty. The 129,600 human ancestors symbolize the 129,600 directions of the human race. Each human ancestor represents a different future. However, many futures have died before they reach the present. On the vast land, in the endless wilderness, and around the rushing rivers, there are scattered traces of the survival of the human race. The powerful learning ability of the human ancestors allows the human ancestors to quickly learn all the creations contained in the natural phenomena. Thus, they understand and decipher the magic of the world and these creations. Treat the unknown as gods and worship them devoutly, and treat the known as tools, and make full use of them. These are the two directions and goals that the human race is adhering to in its continuous development. Roar. Under the blue sky and white clouds, the ancestors of the human race roared like wild beasts and conveyed their emotions to their companions through the constant changes of various sounds. The human race has no language, nor does it have words that can record the trajectory of history. The human race only has an infinite future. Of course, the infinite future sounds good, but in other words, it is a synonym for accomplishing nothing. No goals are infinite goals, no directions are infinite directions, no choices are infinite choices. Before everything is done, everything is infinite. In fact, the tracks left by the gods are everywhere in the world. Although these tracks are often cleared by the Pangu gods, the weight left behind is still sufficient. As long as the souls of the human race can touch the existence of these tracks left by the gods, all magical powers will arise spontaneously, and all the promising future will appear instantly. But in this way, the human race will be completely useless. The balance force from the human body limits the human race from obtaining powerful power. It also protects them from brainwashing interference from the outside world, so that they will not become the playthings of the gods. Somewhere in the prehistoric realm, between the eyes of a human ancestor, the will of Kangji directly resides in the consciousness of this human ancestor. In order not to interfere with the free development of the human race on a large scale, the way Kangji chose to descend at this time was the third way of descending. That is, the will of the Pangu clan descends, which is different from the blood descending of the dragon clan and the faith descending of the phoenix clan. The first two are shaping processes, so as to establish goals, so that the gods can smoothly descend into the body and soul of the living beings. These two ways of descending are equivalent to shaping an individual that is highly overlapped with the gods, so as to serve as the body of the gods. The will descends by setting goals to let it evolve by itself, thus playing an enlightening role. Recognize everything, understand everything, and let everything unveil the mysterious veil that blocks the human race. The spiritual light belonging to Kangji becomes a guiding light of enlightenment, providing the future direction for Kangji, the ancestor of the human race who descended from Kangji. When the divine descends, the light belonging to him will allow ignorant creatures to embark on the road of pursuit. I will become the dawn, illuminating the world of the heavens, allowing all ignorant creatures to embark on the road of pursuit, so as to be with the gods. I will sign a contract with all living beings, and the light of cognition will dispel ignorance, break confusion, and send all forward-moving creatures into the road of infinite future. With a high concentration of will, the light of the soul changes rapidly, thus turning Kangji's will into dawn, illuminating all darkness. As Kangji's sharp change begins, everything of Kangji is transforming towards dawn. Everything that belongs to him will become a concept that exists in the past, present, and future. Just like the highly concentrated will of Suran, which turned into Pangu, the lord of creation. At this time, Kangji was transforming in another direction, and this direction was the lord of cognition, Hanjin. The collection of all things and phenomena, the integrated existence of all unknowns. Only by understanding everything can we walk on the road of opening up and create the future of everything. The road that Kangji was walking at this time was a kind of complement and foreshadowing for Pangu's road. When Kangji turned into Hanjin, the great power of the Lord of Cognition began to exert his original powerful power. All living beings who came into contact with the glory of the Lord of Cognition, Hanjin, would have a strong desire for cognition from the depths of their hearts. They longed to understand everything. They longed to explore everything. They longed to know everything. This desire from the depths of their hearts even overwhelmed the natural rights of living beings that were dominated by ignorance from the beginning of their birth. The right to survive. When survival is overwhelmed by cognition, when death is shrouded by curiosity, the terrifying light of cognition turns into a torch of the future, burning everything of living beings to ashes. Hearing the truth in the morning, I can die in the evening. When Kangji transformed into Hanjin and guided the entire human race through Kangji to define everything in the world, On the starry battlefield of the prehistoric realm, the battle between the demon and Pangu had already reached the end. Pangu, your dusk will come, and you will soon enter the dark star stage, and you will definitely fall. I'm waiting for you to die, and everything you have will become mine. Ha 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 ha. No mistake. The saint is divided into 5 stages: dawn, morning light, brilliance, dusk, and dark star. These 5 stages symbolize the transformation of the saint from birth to fall. The brilliance stage is the strongest stage of the saint, and it is also the beginning of the fall. The saint is like the sun. When the height of the rise reaches the peak, the fall will inevitably happen. This matter will not stop due to external interference. Just like the normal death of a living being, it cannot be stopped, it can only continue. The foundation of Pangu's enlightenment is the opening up. Once the opening up stagnates, it is the beginning of the glorious stage. If it stagnates in the glorious stage for a long time, it is the beginning of dusk. At this time, Pangu is trapped in the beginning of the glorious stage. Originally, Pangu should be in the vigorous morning stage, so as to continue to play his own glory. But the existence of the demon boson is like a wall, blocking Pangu's way of opening up. As a result, Pangu was forced to enter the glorious stage, and even continued to slide towards the dusk stage. Pangu felt that his state was rapidly falling towards dusk, but there was no way. When the master of opening up cannot open up the future, it is the time when the master of opening up falls. Similarly, when the master of cognition cannot cognize, it is the time when the master of cognition falls. In the end, Pangu could only say silently in his heart, "Everything is up to you, Kanji, Hanjin." The battle between gods and demons shocked the heavens and the earth, and resounded through the universe. As Hanjin's light of cognition gradually became popular, the root of the demon Parkson was quickly revealed to all living beings. Demons are obstacles to the path. As this cognition slowly emerged, the battle outside the sky was decided in an instant. Demons are obstacles to the path. Good cognition, but it's too late. Pangu, everything you have, will belong to me. I will turn into Pangu the demon and open up the glory of the demon path. Ha 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 ha. The wild laughter resounded throughout the universe, and the wanton arrogance filled the world. When the concept of demons was formed among all living beings, an invisible shackle instantly locked the changes of the demon Parkson, thus breaking its root. But at the same time, this shackle also turned the demon Parkson into Pangu's demon that blocked the path. When Pangu fell into the dusk, and couldn't extricate himself, Pangu, who was on his deathbed, was knocked down to the dark star stage in one fell swoop. Immediately, under the unwilling roar of Pangu in the Eternal Kingdom, the sky demon merged into Pangu's body, and became one with Pangu. Finally, it turned into a dark sun, and fell into the interior of the Great Desolation. Great Desolation, here I come. The scarlet demon pupil appeared in Pangu's eye sockets, revealing infinite madness inside. The body turns into all things to cast the world. The spirit nourishes all living beings to create the future. It means the pillar of the gods suppresses the sky demon. Kanji, everything is up to you. Amid the sky demon's wild laughter, an inexplicable voice sounded between heaven and earth, revealing helplessness and fatigue in the voice. As this voice sounded, the sky demon Piozun, who had already merged with Pangu, changed his previous arrogance. He roared in fear, "No!" Boom. The dark sun that broke through the sky fell to the earth, making the whole world more prosperous. The body turns into mountains and rivers, and the spirit nourishes all living beings, which means Pangu's pillar of heaven. Senior, have a safe journey. On the other side of time and space, Lee Heo stepped here, looking at the fallen Pangu, and said leisurely, "When gods fall, civilization flourishes, and when civilization dies, gods become alive." Chapter 207 Pangu Pillar. As Pangu fell, he turned into a dark star, and descended into the prehistoric realm. Pangu's divine body turned into all things in the world. Pangu's spirit nourished the soul of the human race, and Pangu's will turned into Pangu's pillar of heaven to suppress the demons. In the gap between heaven and earth, a pillar of heaven, that connected heaven and earth stood in the center of the world, turning into Pangu's sky curtain, to suppress all the demons, that were faintly emerging in the hearts of all living beings. As Hanjin completed the definition of the demon Piozun, he put shackles on him, so that the immortality of the demon was greatly reduced. But at the same time, this shackle also completely connected the demon to the human race's mind. The demon is always in the hearts of all living beings, turning into endless nightmares, and then reviving again. In order to prevent the existence of the demon from causing major interference with the rebirth of the human race, before Pangu fell, he resolutely sealed the demon in Pangu's pillar of heaven to prevent it from coming out. Inside Pangu pillar, the magic power from the demons wantonly collides with the blockade of Pangu pillar, trying to break free from the seal of Pangu's will. A violent roar sounded in the seal of Pangu pillar. I'm immortal. Sooner or later, I will get out of here again. Spread the glory of the demons to this world. I believe that this time is not far away. Along with the roar of the demons, the terrifying magic power was released around Pangu pillar. A huge demon shadow as big as a star suddenly appeared between heaven and earth, filling the whole world. Darkness, death, illusion, distortion. All negative energy followed the will of the demons and moved, spreading glory to the world. However, this demon shadow that filled the world had just appeared not long ago, and the layers of seals like shackles quickly surrounded the demon's magic projection. Thus, it was sealed layer by layer, and pulled back into Pangu pillar again. Strong reluctance was released in the pupils of the demon. The silent roar infected everything in the world, trying to twist it into a pillar to escape the seal. But everything disappeared under the seal of Pangu Shiansu. Between the opening and closing of his eyes, the world changed dramatically, and everything was incredibly fast. Inside the Eternal Kingdom, Kangji, who had transformed into Hanjin's power, tried his best to deduce the future situation, based on the existing conditions. In Hanjin's eyes, countless future scenes appeared and disappeared quickly like passing clouds. In this endless deduction, everything ultimately pointed to one direction, that is, the resurrection of the demon and the fall of all living beings into the devil's calamity. The closed divine pupils opened again, and the red divine light shone in the space. You guys prepare the next plan. I'll go to the lower world. After everything is resolved, come back to continue to implement the Dawn plan. Understood. After a moment, Hanjin explained everything to the entire Pangu clan, and immediately rushed to the lower world. The magnificent sun descended from the sky, bringing boundless power to the prehistoric land. At this time, the prehistoric land was in a state of freedom. The wild beasts all over the prehistoric land and the human race formed tribes on the prehistoric land, forming fixed confrontation lines. In this endless confrontation, the history of the human race began to gradually gestate, and then extended to the two realms of Taixu and Zukong, so as to continuously expand the influence of the human race. Walking on the desolate land, the soul felt the vitality of the prehistoric land, and an inexplicable smile appeared at the corner of Hanjin's mouth. Crisis is the source of progress, the unknown is the beginning of everything, and weakness is the driving force of pursuit. Walking quickly on the road to Pangu Shiansu, while feeling the changes in the new world, while perfecting his various plans for the future. Time passed quickly. For Hanjin, it was only a short moment before he arrived at the foot of Pangu Shiansu. Standing on the edge of Pangu's pillar, feeling the vast breath coming towards him, the dawn belonging to Hanjin left his body and went to the inside of Pangu's pillar. At this time, the power from the demon was constantly consuming Pangu's residual consciousness. Both wanted to turn the other into nothingness, so as to fulfill their own wishes. However, at this time, the sealed energy inside Pangu's pillar lost the support of Pangu's will. Therefore, Pangu's consciousness was almost completely at a disadvantage in the process of fighting against the power of the demon. Although Pangu's consciousness was still able to repel the counterattack of the demon every time, by relying on the advantage of the terrain, it would lose if it defended for a long time. Sooner or later, the demon would appear again, causing blood and rain in the prehistoric world, and provoking endless turmoil. Hanjin transformed into the dawn, and entered the interior of Pangu Shiansu. Seeing the tug-of-war between Shianmo and Pangu consciousness, a sigh came out of Hanjin's mouth. Shianmo, why do you want to go against us? What benefit will this bring you? The voice of Hanjin rang in Pangu Shiansu, awakening Shianmo's will that had fallen into a deep sleep. The boundless darkness slowly receded like a curtain. No mistake, one sentence, one post, one content, 1619, one book, one bar, one look. Only a demon god sealed by infinite shackles remained here. Benefits. What benefits do you need? Watching all living beings struggle endlessly in front of desires. Watching all living beings dance in my palms. What benefits do you need for this wonderful feeling of controlling everything and controlling everything? I want to do it, so I do it. That's all. As Shianmo spoke, the scarlet demon pupils continued to emit a bloody red light, like a ferocious beast that chooses people to eat. Acting out of interest is a good reason. But have you ever thought about the consequences of doing this? After praising the demon, Hangjin turned serious and said, what should I worry about as to the consequences? I'm with the void and enjoy the power of immortality. I'm with all living beings and enjoy the power of controlling all living beings. In this way, what consequences do I need to worry about? Death is just a new beginning for the demon. As long as the void is not destroyed and all living beings are not destroyed, the demon cannot be killed. In such a situation, the demon has sufficient capital to be arrogant. Looking at the stubborn demon, Piozun, Hangjin glanced at him indifferently and said solemnly, I hope you don't regret your decision today. We are walking in a haggard state. Humph. With a cold snort, Hangjin quickly disappeared in front of the demon. In the laughter of the demon, Hangjin seemed to be in a mess and disappeared. I'm waiting for your next move. I want to see what you can do to punish me. Pangu's pillar of heaven stands between heaven and earth, connecting the power of the stars in the sky and the endless ghosts in the netherworld. It can directly reach the void and connect the heavens and the worlds, and it can directly descend into the void and enter the netherworld. This pillar formed by Pangu's will is like the foundation connecting the three worlds of heaven, earth and man, and it dominates the source of all the worlds. Although the demon was sealed here and lost his freedom, he could use the special nature of Pangu's pillar of heaven. In this way, he could collect the power of the demons in the heavens and the worlds and turn it into the power to break the seal. As time goes by, the power of the demons received by the demons becomes stronger and stronger, even to a certain extent. The demon Piozun can directly refine this Pangu pillar of heaven and turn it into an unparalleled artifact for himself to travel through the heavens. Chapter 208 Taking begins. Outside Pangu's pillar, Hangjin walked on the surface of the pillar formed by Pangu's will, moving from the bottom to the top of the pillar. On the Pangu pillar, all the remaining consciousness of Pangu was contained, and these remaining consciousnesses faithfully executed Pangu's last will before he fell. Suppress the birth of the demon, so that the power of the demon had to be presented in the world. The power of the demon brought chaos to the world, distorted people's hearts, made the false become true, and made the real become false. Let everything live in the upside down chaos, and then forever become a puppet in the hands of the demon. As Hangjin moved step by step from the bottom of the pillar to the top, the remaining consciousness of Pangu also turned into a great pressure, and constantly invaded Hangjin. He wanted to turn Hangjin into the carrier of Pangu's consciousness, so that Pangu could be resurrected. Consciousness is the trace left by living beings in the world, and will is the self of living beings. When a large number of residual consciousnesses gather together, under the same conditions, there will be a great possibility that a life equivalent to Pangu will be born again. Although there may be deviations in the birth of will due to the incoherence of will due to various reasons. However, the will born by gathering these residual consciousnesses can still be regarded as the successor of Pangu's will. The ancient gods and even the beings above the ancient gods no longer care about what kind of consciousness their will is rooted in. Because for them, no matter what kind of consciousness they are rooted in, as long as they can grow, it is worth it. As for whether this is considered giving up the self, it is a matter of personal opinion. Anyway, for the ancient gods, the self that cannot progress is not the real self. For those wills born from the consciousness of the ancient gods, this consciousness is an important part of the self. Once the consciousness is lost, it means the loss of the self. The birth of this kind of will can only be called a successor. Just like what Hangjin is doing now, gathering the Pangu consciousness that permeates the Pangu Shiansu, so that the successor of Pangu's will is born, and finally the existence of this successor of Pangu's will. It is his mission to complete Pangu's will to suppress the demons. Consciousness constitutes the self, and the self constructs consciousness. Which of the two has the upper hand depends entirely on where one stands. The vast and majestic consciousness, like the boundless sea, poured into Hangjin's consciousness, like two oceans colliding, raising boundless waves, thus impacting Hangjin's self-will. Suddenly, Hanjin's face turned pale, and a mouthful of scarlet blood slid from the corner of his mouth. The collision between Pangu's powerful consciousness and Hanjin's self-consciousness caused Hanjin to fall into a terrifying battle of consciousness for a while. Just like two of the strongest armies in the world facing each other, the army under the command of Hanjin's will, and the army under the command of Pangu fought against each other. Hanjin's consciousness wanted to devour Pangu's consciousness, so as to shape a successor of Pangu with these consciousnesses. And Pangu's residual consciousness wanted to distort Hanjin's will into the carrier of Pangu, so as to create Pangu's rebirth. In the boundless sea of Hanjin's consciousness, Hanjin's will turned into a glorious sun that spread boundless dawn. It quietly hung in the sky of consciousness, silently watching the collision of the two consciousness torrents below. From time to time, it intervened and changed the formation of Hanjin's consciousness army. It thus devoured and digested Pangu's residual consciousness, and turned it into a part of itself. The army composed of Pangu's consciousness was determined to have one goal, which was to contact Hanjin's will, so as to distort the existence of Hanjin's will with the thinking of Pangu's consciousness. This was a contest of 3 views. The loser would completely complement the winner's 3 views, so that the winner would be one step closer. Planes, worlds, stars, oceans, sky, earth. All battlefields that could be evolved were evolved by the 2 huge consciousnesses. This was an all-round contest. Once one side had a flaw, the final result would be ruthlessly devoured and turned into nothing. Compared with Pangu, who had been promoted to a saint for a long time, the consciousness level of Hanjin at this time was obviously not as good as the consciousness level of Pangu's residual consciousness. No matter how much Pangu's consciousness has lost, it is still huge compared to Hanjin's consciousness. The gap between the two cannot be described by numbers. So the current situation is that, even if Hanjin's consciousness is under the command of Hanjin's will, it can achieve a huge victory in some areas, thereby swallowing up a large amount of Pangu's consciousness and turning it into its own consciousness. However, the huge Pangu consciousness is still approaching the location of Hanjin's will step by step. For Pangu's consciousness, as long as it can add its own consciousness to Hanjin's will, then no matter how big the losses, it is worth it. No mistakes. For Hanjin, if he still cannot beat Pangu's residual consciousness under the premise of occupying the command advantage, then the result of this failure will cause a huge blow to Hanjin. Hanjin's consciousness keeps swallowing up the magnitude of Pangu's consciousness and turning it into his own. Pangu's consciousness keeps approaching Hanjin's will, wanting to impose Pangu's influence on Hanjin's will. In this crazy war of killing and swallowing, Hanjin's consciousness did not move at all, but just watched silently. He had great confidence in himself. And it was this firm will that supported Hanjin to come to the present, and even to stand in the future as a saint. So Hanjin had no need to move at all, even if retreating at this time could exchange for a lot of room for maneuver. Time passed quickly, and under this crazy swallowing and continuous advancement, Pangu's consciousness gradually approached the position of Hanjin's will. The distance between the two was rapidly shortened, but Hanjin still did not move. Finally, at the moment before Pangu's consciousness was about to approach Hanjin's will, Hanjin's consciousness, which had been swallowing continuously, turned into a bloody mouth like an abyss, and swallowed up the entire Pangu consciousness at once. For a moment, everything that belonged to Pangu quickly flowed in Hanjin's consciousness. The struggle, hard work, and struggle that once belonged to Pangu, all turned into Hanjin's increasingly powerful resources, and then helped Hanjin's will to take a step forward, allowing Hanjin to cross the initial stage of the Dawn Saint in one step. With this, he entered the second stage of the Saint, the Dawn Saint. From now on, as long as Hanjin can maintain the momentum of continuous progress, the Dawn Saint stage will make Hanjin stronger all the time, and surpass his previous self all the time. Recalling the historical trajectory left by Pangu, Hanjin gradually simulated the image of Pangu in Hanjin's consciousness, thereby indirectly completing the shaping of Pangu. The real Pangu had fallen in all time and space when dusk fell to the dark star stage. The imprint that still remains in the time and space of all realms is the source of the birth of Pangu's successor. To gain something, you must lose something. This seems to be the fundamental rule of all existence, an unchangeable rule. Mortals become gods and gain eternal life, and gods become saints and gain dawn. But what did they lose? Only they themselves know. Chapter 209, Taking begins. After Hanjin completely devoured Pangu's consciousness, he was standing on the top of Pangu's pillar. He replaced the remaining Pangu consciousness and became the successor of suppressing the birth of the demon. However, it was impossible for Hanjin to suppress the existence of the demon here all the time. He had more important things to do. So a Newell appeared in Hanjin's hands under the leadership of Hanjin, based on Pangu's consciousness. The dawn that symbolized Pangu's will had turned into a star and fell, and there was almost no possibility of revival. Because the appearance of the dark star symbolized that Pangu had given up his hope of survival. In a sense, he was committing suicide. The demon was just an inducement for Pangu's suicide. For saints, as long as they don't want to die, no one can replace them. But similarly, as long as they want to die, no one can stop them. Mortals can be resurrected because there are higher beings to save their damaged consciousness so that they can give birth to a will in their consciousness again. For mortals, this is a true resurrection because the judgment of being alive does not depend on oneself, but on the recognition of the outside world. The gods can be resurrected because there are higher beings who extract the concept of the god's existence from the consciousness of all living beings and then resurrect again in the consciousness of all living beings. This is a true resurrection for gods and mortals, because the judgment of their resurrection still does not depend on themselves, but on the recognition of all living beings, and beings of the same level. For saints, their definition of resurrection is only themselves. If they do not want to die, they will exist forever in the consciousness of all living beings. If they want to die, they will instantly fall in the consciousness of all living beings. The saints define their survival as the progress of the dawn. When the dawn advances, even if it is slow, they are alive. Once the dawn stops advancing, the saints will quickly reach the peak, and eventually slide into the dusk and fall. This symptom is like depression, and it is difficult for outsiders to dissuade them. Being too powerful and invincible leads to a series of events. The external existence constructs the internal will, and the internal will supports the external structure. The new will born from consciousness is like existing in an absolutely stable and balanced container. The strength of the container is his strength, and similarly, the upper limit of the container is also his upper limit. The gods born from Pangu's consciousness are inherently extremely powerful. This power can even allow him to reach the level of ancient gods at birth, thus becoming the supreme existence below the saint. But this power also limits his growth limit. Perhaps he can become a saint with the help of Pangu's legacy. However, this will also mean that the crisis that Pangu once encountered will also be encountered by the will of the gods born from Pangu, and will fall faster than Pangu. The saint is a wonderful realm. Before the saint, all knowledge is filled in the existing framework. After the saint, it is to create a new framework, to perfect his own holy way. So relatively speaking, if the existence that inherits the saint's legacy cannot jump out of the original boundaries and become a saint, then when he becomes a saint with the help of the sacred heritage, the crisis of the saint's fall will appear again, causing him to repeat the fall. Hanjin looked at the Newell being shaped by Pangu's consciousness in his hand, and said in a flat tone without any appeal, whether you will fall in the future, or jump out of the original boundaries, and become a saint, it depends on your own luck. All I can do, is to point out a goal for you, but whether you can get through it depends on your own chance. After Hanjin finished speaking without any interference, a childish voice emerged in the air. Please teach me, teacher, so that I can have a goal to move forward, and get rid of confusion. Confusion lies in having no direction to move forward, and having courage, but no place to use it. After hearing the question from the voice in his palm, Hanjin smiled and said, nothing else, only the people in the mountains. Immediately, Hanjin turned into light and left, thus moving away from Pangu's pillar of heaven, and moving towards the direction of the eternal kingdom. Only a Newell born in Pangu's consciousness was left, muttering to itself, the people in the mountains, immortal? The rich knowledge was enough for the Newell to react to any hint at a very fast speed, so as to crack it in a targeted manner. In the moment when the man in the mountain appeared, the Newell already knew the direction mentioned by Hanjin. No mistake, one poem, one post, one content, 1/6, one book, one bar. With the departure of Hanjin, the days and nights rotated endlessly, and time passed in a blink of an eye. On this day, the sky was sunny and the spiritual energy between heaven and earth suddenly gathered on Pangu Shiansu. These spiritual energy surrounded Pangu's consciousness and shaped the once supreme body of God. Almost in the blink of an eye, an innate ancient god named Taking was born in Pangu Shiansu. This innate ancient god who inherited all the legacy of Pangu. Just after being born, he quickly mastered half of the authority in the entire prehistoric realm, thus gaining great power. Between his gestures, the great power of heaven and earth followed, and all things gathered on his body, thus creating boundless power for him. However, facing these strange phenomena that all set off the sacredness of Taking frowned and showed an unhappy look on his face. I still have poor control over myself. I seem to be very powerful, but I have wasted most of my energy. Taking calmly evaluated his current situation, with dissatisfaction in his tone. As the successor of Pangu, Taking naturally possessed the power of a saint in the prehistoric realm. Although this power can only exist under the cover of Pangu's barrier, it is still the power of a saint. However, facing Taking, who was born with Pangu's consciousness, this external power is powerful, but it does not belong to him after all. On the top of Pangu's pillar, Taking walked towards the center of the peak of Pangu's pillar, and sat cross-legged in the center of the peak. His will was immersed in Pangu's pillar, and he felt the demon sealed in Pangu's pillar. Taking's mouth curled up, as the existence that caused the Father God to fall. Let me, the successor of the Father God, destroy everything of yours. But in a moment, Taking's will quickly immersed in Pangu's pillar, integrating Pangu's consciousness in Pangu's pillar, and thus entered the level of face to face with the demon. In the pitch black darkness, the demon, trapped by countless shackles and chains, looked up at the light that was descending. He laughed coldly and said, "Let me see what you are capable of doing to hurt me. As you wish. I'll show you." If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 210 Fuxi. In the Eternal Kingdom, a large number of ancient gods of the Pangu clan gathered around Hanjin, waiting for Hanjin's next order, so as to continue to implement the Dawn plan of the Pangu clan, and expand the influence of the human race. Hanjin's red eyes stared at the Pangu god clan who was looking at him, and he said softly, "We have almost completed everything in the present world. Then the next step is to expand the influence of the human race to the two realms of Taixu and Zukang, thereby accelerating the interference of the civilization of the human race in the material realm with the other two realms, and finally completely stabilizing the status of the human race. This is the core of the Dawn plan. Before that, I need you to make the final choice. It is impossible for all of us to leave this world, because it is unrealistic. Whether it is the possible invasion from foreign enemies or the initial survival of the human race, we are not allowed to leave all. So we need to leave this world in batches. Those who leave, take away the power and turn into dawn to illuminate the world. Those who stay, give up the power, carry wisdom, and guide the human race on the road of self-reliance with 100 years of life. After 100 years, turn into dawn again, and spread the epic of human civilization. Make a decision now. Who wants to stay? Who wants to leave?" 2 decisions were placed in front of the Pangu god clan, and they were allowed to make a choice. Time passed slowly, and a large number of thoughts were exchanged quickly throughout the Pangu clan, and each of them was assigned their duties according to their own situation. After a while, a team of Pangu clan members walked out of the formation, and came to Hanjin. A magnetic voice sounded in the Eternal Kingdom, "Leave the task of guiding the human race forward to us." Hanjin looked at the Pangu clan members who walked out of the formation, smiled and nodded, and said, "In this case, then, Fuxi, everything is up to you." Hanjin immediately exerted his great power, forcibly extracting the power of Fuxi and other Pangu clan members, and turned it into a ball of light, and placed it in his hand. The feeling of the power leaving the body, the power accompanying the passage of time, and the feeling of leaving continuously was very uncomfortable. Even for the Pangu clan members who were based on firm will, the sense of difference caused by forcibly separating from their own power almost caused some Pangu clan members to perish and die. Strength is the foundation that supports all existence. When this foundation is forcibly taken away, the consequences are no less than the extraction of the foundation of a house. Although the Pangu clan, which was forcibly deprived of its divine power, did not fall immediately due to Hanjin's divine power, the sudden departure of power still caused a large number of Pangu clan members to fall into a state of sleep, and their own ancient divine power fell into silence. Hanjin looked at Fuxi and others who were in a coma, and said with his hands behind his back, "You are here as leaders, not as overlords. What you have to do is to guide the direction, not as gods interfering with the development of the human race. You can leave your own tracks, but you cannot go against the choice of the human race. So, go and reincarnate." With a wave of Hanjin's hand, the door of reincarnation suddenly opened. Hao-Tu, who existed in the netherworld, and was the master of the netherworld, stepped out. The dark eyes of the god stared at Hanjin, and a trace of hostility was revealed in Hao-Tu's eyes. Over the years, Hao-Tu was very unhappy with the Pangu clan's encroachment. In Hao-Tu's opinion, the Pangu clan treated the reincarnation center as their own home. They came and left as they pleased, without any respect for the reincarnation center. So when Fuxi and the others were preparing to reincarnate, Hao-Tu stood up. "Don't you think what you have done over the years has been a bit excessive?" The voice with endless peace in its likeness echoed in the Eternal Kingdom, revealing a hint of dissatisfaction. Staring at Hao-Tu, who carried the power of the netherworld, and feeling the profundity from Samsara, Hanjin said, "The place of Samsara is where all living beings reincarnate. I'm just making the best use of everything. How can I say it's excessive? Stop the operation of Samsara. Treat the rules of Samsara as nothing. Create mass killings. Let all living beings return to death. Fall into hell. All these things, one by one, are not excessive. Now you want to put the existence of ancient gods into Samsara in large numbers, and let them pass through the place of Samsara. No mistake. One poem, one post, one content, one book, one bar. How can I let you have your way?" Every word of Hao-Tu's voice was as sharp as a knife, describing in full what the Pangu clan had done over the years. However, in the face of Hao-Tu's accusation, Hanjin said calmly, "The cycle of life and death is determined by heaven. I just advanced, or postponed it a little. What's wrong with that? If you are dissatisfied with me and the Pangu clan, we will correct it. We will even help you perfect the reincarnation. In this way, we will make amends for our sins. What can you say? After all, the ancient gods are not ordinary beings." A strong threat emerged in the Eternal Kingdom, and the atmosphere of almost drawing swords quickly filled the air. Following Hanjin's words, hundreds of ancient gods looked at Hao-Tu, and the existence of the same level gave Hao-Tu great pressure. With a cold snort, Hao-Tu quickly disappeared in front of the reincarnation gate, so that Hanjin could smoothly send Fuxi and others into the reincarnation. Looking at the disappeared Hao-Tu, Hanjin muttered to himself, "Ancient does not mean powerful. As an ancient god, you are far from competent." As the reincarnation channel rotated rapidly, the powerful souls of Fuxi and others turned into streams of light and quickly shuttled through the reincarnation river, ignoring any obstacles, rushing into the human reincarnation at the fastest speed, and then reincarnating into the human race. For the ancient gods, forgetting is just a simple thing. The blank and powerful human soul passed through the baptism of the tunnel fire, passed through the human reincarnation land, and quickly descended into the existing human tribe. In the Huaxu tribe, with a cry, a baby with a lively look in his eyes was born in the arms of the chief of the Huaxu tribe. The soul of the ancient god is so powerful that it can be called magical. Even if there is no memory and power, it can form an infinite driving force on the outside world with its natural influence. As a result, the entire human race has endless changes, which in disguise, promotes the power of human development. In the Eternal Kingdom, Hanjin, who watched Fuxi and others being born in batches, looked at the birth of Fuxi, and a trace of relief appeared at the corner of his mouth. Finally, everything is on the right track. The next step is to expand this advantage, expand, and expand again, until an extremely terrifying gap is formed. As time passed, Hanjin's pupils moved away from Fuxi and transferred to the remaining Pangu gods. Chapter 211, Thousand Worlds in Wild Blood. Our companions have already completed their mission, and we also need to complete our mission. Now listen to my command. All of you leave the world and move towards the void. With Hangjin's command, the entire Eternal Kingdom seemed like a space battleship standing in the Zacian stars. Under the reflection of a brilliant divine light, in a blink of an eye, it disappeared in the Zacian stars, and then arrived in the vast and boundless Takesu. In the last moment before the Eternal Kingdom disappeared, Hangjin's voice seemed to exist in the heavenly way in the dark, and the indifferent voice sounded in the ears of the great powers between heaven and earth. Hangjin is in harmony with the Tao. The big trend will not change, but the small trend can change. What is the big trend? The result of the prosperity of the human race is the big trend. What is the small trend? The process of the prosperity of the human race is the small trend. Hangjin's voice rang in Taking's ears, in Xianmo's ears, in Nuwa's ears, in Jiangshan's ears, in the ears of the ancient gods born among the human race, and in the ears of many other creatures. For some reason, all the creatures in the prehistoric realm at this time felt a sense of freedom. The stubborn stone that had been inexplicably pressing on their hearts suddenly disappeared, and an inexplicable sense of ease emerged in the hearts of all living beings. When the Pangu clan existed in the past, the Pangu barrier that permeated the entire prehistoric realm was like a spiritual eye in the sky, watching everything that happened in the world at all times. After the Pangu clan left, the Pangu barrier seemed to be silent. It just simply maintained the operation of the Pangu barrier, and did not interfere too much with the many matters inside the Pangu barrier. In the Takesu, this is the birthplace of the gods, where a large number of innate gods were born, and it is the best place to supplement all the reserve forces of the gods. There are 2 promotion rules in Takesu, blood promotion and soul promotion. And now, with the arrival of Pangu God Clan, the 3rd promotion path is about to be opened in Takesu. In the vast Takesu, the Eternal Kingdom driven by Pangu God Clan is like a rampaging warship, running rampant in the Takesu world community regardless of anything. Because of the traction of Pangu God Clan's world destruction, almost the entire original star system exists in the 1,000 worlds of Takesu. All were pulled to one position, and after a lot of collisions, a large number of small worlds with the potential to be promoted to the middle 1,000 worlds were produced. And the goal of Pangu God Clan is these small worlds with evolutionary potential. In the Eternal Kingdom, Hangjin turned into a light that enveloped the entire kingdom. Thus, it exists in the sky of the Eternal Kingdom, like a star shining on the world, emitting infinite light and heat. A sacred voice appeared between heaven and earth in the Eternal Kingdom. Everyone, shine the light of your soul, guide these ignorant beings, and let them embark on the road of evolution. As Hangjin's voice fell, sacred rays of light appeared in the heart of the Pangu clan. It expanded rapidly, and in less than a moment, these rays of light quickly devoured the body of the Pangu clan, turning it into a light existence like Hangjin. After the entire Pangu clan turned into light, the Eternal Kingdom belonging to the Pangu clan disintegrated instantly. Many Pangu clan members carried a small part, and then quickly disappeared from the spot like a meteor, moving towards many small worlds. Countless rays of light illuminated the darkness of the void, dispelling the darkness, and turning it into a bright field, so that the Pangu clan could absorb the existence of the energy of the void. In the boundless void, thousands of worlds hovered in the endless void like stars, following the existing rules and running slowly. Although the order of Takesu was destroyed, because of the destruction of the Pangu gods, Takesu is worthy of being Takesu. In just a short time, it has begun to recreate a new order, to maintain the operation of the 1,000 worlds. Somewhere in Takesu, at the edge of a world community composed of the middle 1,000 worlds surrounded by the small 1,000 worlds, Hangjin brought a piece of the Eternal Kingdom space, and descended directly to the sky above the middle 1,000 worlds. In a burst of light and darkness, the fragment of the Eternal Kingdom that spanned the sky above the middle 1,000 worlds grew rapidly like chicken blood. But after a while, this fragment of the Eternal Kingdom brought by Hangjin covered the entire world community in all directions. In the huge world community composed of a large number of small 1,000 worlds, there are countless powerful beasts. These powerful beasts are all superorganisms born by following the 2 systems of bloodline promotion rules and soul promotion rules. With these 2 promotion systems, the creatures in the world community can grow quickly and ascend to the middle 1,000 worlds. then obtain the special substances existing in the middle thousand worlds, so as to get rid of the restrictions of the fate of one world, and obtain a new life trajectory. In Take-Two, the small thousand worlds are when fate is most intense, and the small thousand worlds exist as a record of the historical trajectory of the material world. No mistakes in one poem, one post, one content, 1619, one book, one bar. The established material historical trajectory is the fate of the small thousand worlds. If you want to get rid of this fate, you can only accept the influence from the outside world, to break free from the control of fate. The wild blood middle thousand worlds. This is a powerful world where a large number of small thousand worlds collide, thus causing drastic changes in the process of fate reorganization, so as to be promoted to the middle thousand worlds. There are a large number of lower level gods and middle level gods in this world. The ability of these gods to interfere with the world can indirectly give the sentient beings of the small thousand worlds the opportunity to escape the control of fate. Inside the wild blood middle thousand worlds, the alliance of gods and demons and the belief in gods are the two major camps, thus forming a world battlefield that has been tug-of-war for thousands of years. Because of the different speeds of time, for the creatures in the material world, the world catastrophe that only existed a few decades ago, in the thousands of worlds in the wasteland, it has already become a distant ancient historical era. On this day, the sun formed by the power of the origin of the world rose in the sky as usual, and the light dispelled the darkness. The prelude to a new war between gods and demons was launched again between the alliance of gods and demons and the gods of faith. The descendants of gods and demons with the blood of gods and demons flowing in their bodies, and the powerful human priests of the gods of faith. Driven by their respective gods, they quickly ran towards the battlefield. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Heavy steps trampled on the earth, and the magic weapons made of metal armor emitted a cold light in the hands of the human priests. The heavy and thick armor was like a tank, crushing the ground hard, leaving traces of footprints. On the opposite side of the human priests, countless huge beasts circling and winding, like huge mountains and rocks, ruthlessly crushed everything in front of them, and ran forward without hesitation. As time passed, the distance between the two kept getting closer, and the roars and growls were heard. Just when the war was about to break out, the eternal sun in the sky suddenly dimmed. Chapter 212, Lucklink. In the desolate blood world, as the sun went dark and dark, an inexplicable will of terror roamed the world like a ferocious beast, watching all the creatures in this world. This nameless terror even forced the large-scale war of gods that was about to break out in the desolate blood world to stop. At this moment, although the world is still the same as before, the inexplicable panic is constantly warning the world's creatures. You are being watched. Hangjins will wander around the edge of the middle thousand worlds, peeking at the past, present, and future of this world from outside the middle thousand worlds. As the central world of the entire world community, half of the origin of the entire world community exists in this middle thousand worlds. For Hanjin, as long as he exerts his own interference on this world, he can indirectly affect the future changes of the entire world community. Time passed quickly, and in the blink of an eye, the desolate blood world disappeared into the past in 3 years. The sun went dark 3 years ago, forcing the large-scale war of gods that was about to break out to end. The fear from the heart made the world's creatures actively prepare for war, looking forward to welcoming the unknown war. However, 3 years have passed, and nothing has happened, as if everything was just a dream. Time will dilute everything. For the middle thousand worlds that are growing rapidly, every minute and every second is extremely precious. In the small world, the determination of the established historical trajectory will make the fate of the small world an iron rule that cannot be changed. For such a world, time often has no meaning. Even if millions of years pass quickly, nothing in this world will change at all. However, for the Huangsu world that has just been promoted to the middle thousand world, time is extremely precious. The creatures in this world must complete their own promotion before the change of the promotion of the middle thousand world ends. Otherwise, once the world order is stable and the trajectory of fate is formed again, everything will return to the rule of fate again. 3 years. This is too long for the creatures in the Huangsu middle thousand world. The long absence of the unknown existence has made the war that was once forced to start again. It's just that the war 3 years later, compared with the war 3 years ago, has more creatures called people participating. Changes have quietly existed as early as when Hanjin covered this world. After Hanjin came to the desolate blood world, he covered the past, present, and future of the entire world at the fastest speed. Thus, in the past, the trajectory of the birth of the human race was engraved, which prompted the traces of the human race to appear silently in the world without causing any notice from the creatures of this world. After the desolate blood world was engraved with the imprint of the human race belonging to the desolate blood world began to establish an inexplicable connection with the human race in the material plane. This connection formed two twin systems that can influence each other between the human races in the two worlds. The development of the human race from the desolate blood world will indirectly affect the human race in the material plane, so that the human race in the material plane is always in crisis. Because of various coincidences, those unnecessary mistakes are avoided to complete the rapid transition of the human race in the material plane. The existence of the human race in the material plane provides the human race in the desolate blood world with endless and huge luck, so that the human race in the desolate blood world has unlimited opportunities for rebirth. As long as the human race in the material plane is not destroyed, then in the fate trajectory of the desolate blood world, the human race will have endless luck. No matter how many times they fail, no matter how many times they are on the verge of extinction, they will continue to revive because of the favor of heaven and earth. With the establishment of this connection, in Hanjin's perception, both the human race in the wild blood world and the human race in the material world are leaping at an extremely fast speed. This leaping trend can almost be clearly sensed, and all kinds of changes are like the vicissitudes of life, rapidly changing everything about the human race. At this time, in the vast Takesu, there are not a few Pangu gods who act like Hanjin. They either occupy alone or cover in groups. Cover the vast world communities under their will, thereby modifying the past trajectory of the world, so as to imprint the existence of the human race in each middle thousand world. Let these middle thousand worlds serve as signal base stations, constantly facing the small worlds attached to these middle thousand worlds, as an adjustment and modification of fate. With the coverage of the Pangu gods one by one, an extremely huge network quickly took shape between Takesu and Hangliang. This network completely connects the fate of the human race in the two realms to everything, and finally realizes the leap forward development of the entire human race. The Takesu human race in countless worlds will be transformed into countless future simulators, thus constantly evolving the future development of the human race. No mistakes in one song, one post, one content, one 6, one 9, one book, one bar. This will provide a large number of choices for the material human race, and ultimately avoid all kinds of unnecessary troubles. And these plans experimented by the Takesu human race will become the way forward for the human race in the material world, thereby promoting the progress of the material human race, and constantly expanding the support of the material human race for the Takesu human race. Under the cooperation of these two ways of human existence, the entire human race will present a curve of rising development speed, and eventually move towards the road of infinite future. Of course, compared with the beautiful future, for Hanjin at this time, the most urgent task is to quickly improve the survival ability of the material human race and the Takesu human race. Otherwise, before the beautiful vision is realized, the blow from the outside world will make all the plans of the entire Pangu clan for many years fall short. Outside the thousands of worlds in the wild blood, Hanjin looked at the Takesu human race who were struggling to survive inside the world, and frowned slightly. The human race is still a little too weak compared with the various dragon blood beast races that once existed in the material plane. Although the human race, under the protection of the Pangu clan, occupied almost the entire material world. However, the huge gap in time has made it far from possible for the human race to show its advantages, and distant water cannot quench immediate thirst. No matter how beautiful the future of the human race is, as long as it has not been realized for a moment, it is just a flower in the mirror and a moon in the water. In the Takesu, a large number of world communities were covered under the rule of the Pangu clan. As these worlds were covered, a more grand consciousness exchange began in the vast Takesu, and many Pangu clans crossed the endless Takesu distance and came to the country where Hanjin was. In the pure white space, Hangjin sat cross-legged on the cloud bed, quietly waiting for the arrival of the Pangu clan. Chapter 213 Reincarnation Space. Soon, as a human figure appeared in Hangjin's country, Hangjin's will to wander in the void finally returned. When all the Pangu gods arrived, Hangjin's red eyes looked at the Pangu gods below. Now the Pangu gods' plan for many years is coming to an end. As long as the human race thoroughly takes root in this world, then the next step is when our dream will be cast. The wish that we once cast together will appear before us. Infinite future. We have sacrificed a lot to achieve this goal. But it's all worth it. As long as we complete the connection of this last step of the plan, we can let go completely, so that we can pursue our future in our world. Now, let us start the last step of the plan before letting go. Infinite reincarnation. As you wish. With the consensus reached among the Pangu gods, in an instant, all the Pangu gods in Hangjin's country disappeared. So they returned to the world they covered, and then began to implement the steps of the infinite reincarnation plan. In the material world, several years have passed at this time. During these years, the human race has been like an indestructible cockroach, living tenaciously and stubbornly in this world. In the process of the rapid growth of the human race, death is inevitable. As the perfect creation that the Pangu gods are proud of, the original human race has all kinds of talents that can be called unique. The memory of everything, the insight of hearing all directions and watching all directions, and the learning ability of being born good at imitating. The existence of these talents and abilities has enabled the human race to lay the foundation for survival in the prehistoric world full of dangers in a few years. But despite such unique advantages, death is still inevitable. When the human race faces the fear of death, the tunnel fire from the soul will quickly ignite depending on the concentration of the human race's will before death, thus prompting the human race to open the path of promotion of the gene lock. Of course, as one of the highest technologies of the Pangu gods, the gene lock cannot be opened just because you want to. To open the gene lock, you can only have an extremely strong will to survive, and an attitude of doing everything possible to survive in a short period of time. Without these two wills, death only represents reincarnation, and there will be no chance to open the gene lock. Once there is such a strong desire to survive, and the will to survive at all costs, then the tunnel fire from the depths of the human soul will rise up, and then burn the soul of the human race crazily. In this process, either your soul will be burned to ashes, with only a little residue to reincarnate, and then become a person cursed by fate in the next life, or the will breaks through the gene lock, thus breaking the balance of the old body, and reorganizing a new balance of its own in the endless gene sequence. The reason why the conditions for opening the gene lock are so harsh is, on the one hand, because the gene lock is powerful. But on the other hand, if the gene lock is too easy to open, it will cause great damage to the potential of the human race, which is completely not worth the loss. Ordinary people, as the cornerstone of the growth of the human race, silently contribute to the prosperity of the human race, and the opener of the gene lock is captured by the Pangu gods, and thrown into infinite reincarnation, to open up the future for the human race. These are the two development paths of the human race today. As the world and Takesu was covered, a large number of Pangu gods brought their will to the prehistoric world, and then plundered the powerful human race who opened the gene lock. As the human race who came back from the dead, these human races who opened the gene lock were like light bulbs in the dark night in the eyes of the Pangu gods, so dazzling and bright. There is no need to look carefully, just a glance can tell the difference between ordinary human beings and gene lock openers. As for the method of distinction, such a huge genetic difference in the body can be felt even by a blind person. The difference between ordinary people and extraordinary people is not only the distinction of powerful strength, but more of a huge difference in the spiritual will. Ordinary people go with the flow, and extraordinary people follow the waves and hit the water. One passively lets the world dominate, and the other actively dominates the world. The difference between the two is enough for the Pangu gods to complete the identification of gene lock openers. At this time in the material plane, the development of the human race is in a slow state. Although there is progress, the extent of progress is not huge. Therefore, the need for these gene lock openers is not so obvious. In this way, the Pangu clan can capture the gene lock openers in the human race without worrying about affecting the development of the human race. Otherwise, if the human race is in crisis, the Pangu clan will not only not capture the gene lock openers, but will also invest a large number of gene lock openers to maintain the existence of the human race. As for whether the sudden departure of these gene lock openers will have an impact on the existing human race, out of consideration for this situation, when the Pangu clan lets the gene lock openers leave, they usually die naturally. Under the consciousness correction of the Pangu clan and the control of death departure, the gene lock openers in the human race suddenly began to leave the world at a rapid speed. Therefore, under the guidance of the Pangu clan, they came to the fragments of the Eternal Kingdom, where the Pangu clan was. Of course, the fragments of the Eternal Kingdom at this time were named Reincarnation Space. At the edge of the Wild Blood World, Hangjin, who covers the entire Wild Blood World community, is now grabbing his own reincarnation warriors from the world. After some exploration, dozens of vague human figures slowly emerged in the center of the space named by Hangjin as the Wild Blood Space. As a reincarnation space transformed from the Eternal Kingdom, the manufacturing methods of all the creations of the Pangu God clan were accorded in the reincarnation space. As long as the space is given enough energy, these reincarnation spaces located above the world community can create all Pangu creations. This even includes the Pangu axe, one of the most advanced technologies of the Pangu God clan. Of course, if you want to get a brand new Pangu axe, the conditions required can be said to be as difficult as ascending to heaven. In the reincarnation space, the hard currency that can be exchanged is the luck value. In each reincarnation mission, the changes caused to the world by the reincarnation warriors will give the reincarnationists a lot of luck rewards. And the source of these luck rewards is precisely the support share of the human race's luck for each world. And the reincarnationists can share some of the rewards of luck rewards in the process of helping the human race grow. Chapter 214 The Original Departure. In the silent and dark universe, only a few stars illuminated this dark universe. In this dark universe, Lee Heo stood at the edge of the original star, quietly waiting for the original star to be slowly swallowed. Behind Lee Heo, the four heavenly consciousnesses stood in a row, silently. Today is the last day. After today, we will gain the ability to move the star system. At that time, the entire universe will be at our disposal. But before that, how are our preparations completed? Lee Heo looked at the star that was gradually covered by the crystal wall and asked the four heavenly consciousnesses behind him. Kang Shan answered as a representative, everything is ready, just waiting for the right time to come. We will soar into the sky. Very good, right here, we wait for the star to be covered. Lee Heo nodded to Kang Shan's answer. But after a while, everything returned to silence again, as if everything before was just an illusion. Time passed quickly, and the original star that used to illuminate the entire star system finally completely lost its due light under the cover of the crystal wall. All the energy emitted by the primordial star was transformed into God particles by the crystal wall layer without revealing a trace. Then it expanded to the entire primordial star system, making this the only star system under Lee Heo's control. Transformed in the direction of the crystal wall system, a large number of plain crystal walls quickly connected everything in series, thus forming an extremely mysterious and powerful system. Energy, order, chaos, soul, truth, balance, the six basic elements that constitute the primordial crystal wall system, quickly took shape inside the crystal wall system, thus forming the pillar system of the primordial crystal wall system. These six basic elements composed of the 5-day consciousness and the primordial will be all the pillars of the expansion of the primordial crystal wall system in the universe, thus providing a powerful boost for Lee Heo, so that Lee Heo can run rampant in the universe. The huge energy emitted by the star every moment was transformed into God particles by Lee Heo, and then spread to the entire primordial crystal wall system. The energy level of the primordial crystal wall system was greatly improved to strengthen the material structure of the plane world and the life level of the creatures. Under Lee Heo's large-scale energy supply, the endless planes in the primordial crystal wall system are rapidly becoming stronger. The thickness of space is being reinforced, the mass of matter is increasing, and the energy concentration is increasing. Everything is undergoing earth-shaking changes. However, this large-scale change from the underlying structure of the world cannot be felt by many creatures in the plane world for the time being. However, as time goes by, these creatures will sooner or later perceive all these changes. At the same time as the primordial crystal wall system is undergoing major changes, the sky above the Sea of Origin, which was previously called a star, is now named the Supreme Artifact Pantheon, that accommodates the 5-day consciousness is also undergoing tremendous changes at this time. Due to Ligeio's nostalgia for his previous experiences and the changes made for space navigation. At this time, the Pantheon has long changed its original classical appearance. It is no longer a magnificent temple of gods, but has been completely transformed by Ligeio into a space aircraft carrier with amazing combat power. With the Sea of Origin as a central command system, the entire primordial crystal wall system as the space carrier, the numerous planes of the world as the space battleships, the gods as the commanders, and the world's sentient beings as the combatants, a huge and complex war system has been formed. Ligeio stood in the central control room full of technological atmosphere, looking at the Pantheon, which had changed greatly in appearance, but remained unchanged in its interior. He said happily, "It still looks good this way." Although the appearance of the Pantheon was greatly modified by Ligeio, the basic functions of the Pantheon have not changed at all. Not only have the old functions not changed, but a large number of new functions have even been added. With firm steps, Ligeio walked step by step to the energy throne in the center of the central control room, and stood in front of the energy throne. This supreme throne, which was previously called the Haotian throne, has now become a place full of technological and cold atmosphere. Countless sophisticated instruments are operating strictly according to the established order like loyal guards. Touching the energy throne filled with a cold breath, Ligeio said leisurely, "Compared to the classical gods full of affinity, these war artifacts filled with cold killing are the most suitable choices for this space travel." After sighing, Ligeio sat on the energy throne without hesitation. As Ligeio sat down, the entire primordial crystal wall system suddenly seemed like a space aircraft carrier about to sail. No mistakes. One song, one post, one content, 1619, one book, one bar, one look. The huge energy of the God particle penetrates and connects all the energy nodes inside the entire primordial crystal wall system, thus providing great help for Ligeio to move the entire crystal wall system. Consciousness connects the energy circulation system of the entire crystal wall system, sensing the huge torrent of God particles like boiling blood. Quickly shuttle through the energy blood vessels composed of plain cells. An indescribable sense of comfort arises spontaneously. At this time, Ligeio's body is full of energy surging breath, and the white light covers Ligeio's pupils, bringing Ligeio's consciousness into the energy operation system of the entire primordial crystal wall system. During this process, the other 5 pillars of the primordial crystal wall system also sat on their own thrones. Like Ligeio, they began to simultaneously detect possible problems at the current stage. After a long period of detection, the light in the eyes of the 5 heavenly consciousnesses dimmed at the same time, which meant the end of all detection. Surrounding everything in the entire central control room, Ligeio said with a firm gaze, "I will count to 3. After 3 counts, the primordial crystal wall system will completely break away from the original trajectory and embark on a journey of space travel. Everyone, please be prepared." With Ligeio's reminder, the 5 heavenly consciousnesses and the original will all cheered up. As the first trial run of the primordial crystal wall system, the success or failure of this time will determine whether Ligeio will completely embark on the road of soaring or continue to be trapped under the existing cosmic order. 3, 2, 1, start. With Ligeio's order, the Sea of Origin began to boil rapidly like a started engine. In a short moment, the torrent of God particles existing in the entire primordial crystal wall system began to flow rapidly. Starting from the heart-like Sea of Origin, it moves towards the 5 planetary domains of the primordial crystal wall system. It passes through countless meteorite planes along the way, and finally completes an energy cycle, before returning to the Sea of Origin again. During this process, the places where the God particle flow passes through begin to be interfered by the balancing force of the primordial will. It thus reaches an agreement with the entire primordial crystal wall system, so as to adapt to the primordial crystal wall system that is about to move at high speed. Chapter 215 Scavenger. Inside the primordial crystal wall system, under the interference of the balance force, all meteorite planes in the entire primordial crystal wall system are consistent with the entire primordial crystal wall system, without the slightest deviation. Under the guarantee of this force, the huge crystal wall layer covers the entire star system, isolating the outer surface of the star system from the universe. This ensures that the trajectory of the star system after leaving will not be discovered by other civilizations in the universe, thus causing unnecessary trouble. After the crystal wall layer covers the entire star system, Liheo begins to activate his energy and then push the entire crystal wall system. Accompanied by an inexplicable rhythm spreading to the entire interior, the extremely massive star system finally slowly moved. Along with the movement of the star system, at the edge of the star system, the huge energy tide is like an ocean wave, pushing towards the surroundings. These huge energies driven by the star system surge layer by layer towards the surrounding cosmic void. The tidal vortex caused by the energy ruthlessly submerges all the meteorites existing in the gaps between the stars, turning them into cosmic dust. Inside the central control room, Liheo sat on the energy throne, sensing the god particles belonging to the sea of origin spreading rapidly around, and then transformed into a majestic energy that pushed the star system forward. He said in a low voice, "Target, blue blood planet, full speed ahead." As Liheo's order was conveyed, the massive star system began to slowly accelerate, and at a steadily increasing speed, it continued to move forward towards the goal set by Liheo, the blue blood planet. While the star system was moving forward, Liheo looked back at the past and thought to himself, "I should leave something behind." As this thought arose, Liheo casually selected a small meteorite that existed on the edge of the original crystal wall system and placed it on the original position of the crystal wall system. Looking at the small meteorite that stayed in place, Liheo said leisurely, "Unknown explorer, I hope you will like my gift. Dividing line in the vast universe, there are countless miraculous creations and a large number of brilliant civilizations. Among these brilliant civilizations, there is a kind of civilization called intelligent machine civilization, which is acting as the scavenger of the universe. The Bella Galaxy is a galaxy with 3 stars. In this galaxy, there is a Bella civilization. This is a very powerful civilization. As the strongest civilization in the star system, after a very long history, it has entered the stage of pioneering beyond the star system to colonize the universe. On the Bella capital star in the Bella star system, the resources of the entire Bella civilization are concentrated. Thoro, the senior general of the Bella civilization expeditionary force, who had forged 1,000 expeditionary fleets, was now receiving instructions from Emperor Bella. As the pride of Bella civilization, General Thoro, you will carry the future of Bella civilization and embark on the road of cosmic expedition. As a blessing, I wish the great sacred light to protect everything you have, and your glory will be with Bella." Thoro swore to Emperor Bella devoutly in the eyes of the crowd, "I will protect the glory of Bella and let the glory of Bella spread throughout the universe. May the great Bella civilization be immortal forever." General Thoro's oath aroused the cheers of the entire Bella civilization. May the great Bella civilization be immortal forever. May the glory of Bella shine on the universe. May General Thoro's glory be with Bella. With blessings, General Thoro, the supreme commander of the Bella Civilization Expeditionary Force, was officially awarded the rank of Marshal by Emperor Bella. Under the expectation of the public, Marshal Thoro led the expeditionary corps of nearly 300,000 people of the entire Bella Civilization to officially land on the fleet, thus embarking on the road of expedition to the universe. In the dark and silent void of the universe, rays of light quickly shuttled among the stars, using the light energy emitted by the stars to accelerate their movement speed. Under this kind of voyage close to the critical point of the speed of light, these radiant beings, the expeditionary fleet of the Bella civilization had just left its homeland not long ago, and when it was about to increase its speed, in order to escape the gravity of the star system, it arrived at the universe where the Bella star system was located. In the empty space of the universe, 1,000 expeditionary fleets were like tiny ants, slowly shuttling through the void of the universe. Compared to the tiny distance of the universe, for the expeditionary fleet, it was an almost insurmountable gap. When the expeditionary fleet was moving slowly, a ruthless sound like mechanical vibration rang in the ears of nearly 300,000 soldiers of the entire Bella Civilization expeditionary fleet. No mistakes in one poem, one post, one content, 1619, one book, one bar, one look. The target civilization level is a star civilization superior, on the verge of breaking through the neutron star civilization stage. Target confirmed, to be eliminated. With the sound of a cold voice, before the Bella Civilization expedition fleet could react, a sacred blow that seemed to come from heaven instantly turned 1,000 Bella Civilization expedition fleets into cosmic dust. There was no pain, no unwillingness, and no resistance. Under the attack of the unknown existence, these most powerful warships of the Bella Civilization disappeared into the universe without a single one left. At the same time, when the Bella Civilization expedition fleet disappeared, the light existence instantly moved towards the Bella star system. In a short moment, this unknown existence, which was emitting a sacred light, arrived above the capital star of the Bella Civilization. Under the gaze of the entire Bella Civilization, the unknown existence turned into a figure emitting endless light. Outside the huge round body like a star, it was surrounded by a pair of white and sacred angel wings. The vast energy fluctuations illuminated everything in the entire Bella Civilization, and the extremely powerful and terrifying pressure instantly crushed the upward will of the entire civilization. Without any communication, just like cleaning up garbage, the unknown existence turned everything in the Bella Civilization into a golden cube. However, after putting it into his body, a cold mechanical voice sounded. Apostle 5000 reports, the star superior civilization has been cleaned up. Harvest, a civilization crystal. Request a reply from Cheyenne Key. Under the call of the unknown existence, a more mechanical and cold voice sounded in his consciousness. Apostle 5000, after presenting the civilization crystal, head towards the second starfield. There are suspected signs of the revival of the Will civilization. Chapter 216 Sequence System. Second starfield. Target confirmed. Start execution. A cold mechanical voice sounded, and the apostle, who was as huge as a star, gathered his vast body in all directions, thus turning it into a round existence only the size of a planet. With the instant destruction of the Bella star system civilization, the seeds of the new secondary civilization were once again sown in this galaxy, thus extending the emergence of a civilization. Under the gaze of the apostle, when the buds of primitive civilization appeared again, when the first intelligent creatures were born again, when the reincarnation of civilization began again, the seeds of the primitive lower civilization have been sown, and the next harvest time is expected to be 50,000 years. In the vast universe, the apostle quickly left the Bella star system. Thus, at a speed close to the speed of light, it quickly moved towards the second starfield. At this time, the apostle's position was only 5 light years away from the target position of the second starfield. Time passed quickly, and when the apostle who had fallen into hibernation woke up again, the apostle had already arrived at the target location. The huge angel wings extended to the extreme, absorbing the energy of the stars in the universe. The huge body like a star quickly extended, and the body stood like a star in the empty universe. The apostle's eyes, that saw everything, quickly searched for all abnormalities in the target location, and compared the current position of the universe star map with the position of the star map recorded by the apostle 100,000 years ago. Soon, a major discovery made the apostle highly alert. 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 The star at the target location has disappeared. The star at the target location has disappeared. Request for apocalypse command. Request for apocalypse command. In the apostle's internal network, a mysterious communication message quickly crossed the distant universe and reached the center of Apocalypse 800 Nebula and was received by Apocalypse 800. It existed in a neutron star at a certain location in Apocalypse 800 Nebula. A vast consciousness operated in accordance with the established order. When Apocalypse 800 received the information that the star of Apostle 5000 had disappeared, a deep and cold voice of order echoed inside the neutron star. Order. Apostle units numbered from Apostle 3000 to Apostle 5000. Search the entire second star field of the Apocalypse 800 Nebula and make sure to find the whereabouts of the lost star. The vast voice, through the powerful ability of the neutron star, crossed the distance of a nebula and spread the fate of Apocalypse 800 to every corner of the nebula. It was accepted by the Apostle units and became the target of the Apostle units' actions. In an instant, a full 2,000 cold mechanical voices replied to Apocalypse 800. The order is confirmed, and the execution begins. With the execution of the Apostle unit's orders, a large number of apostles wandering inside the nebula all move towards the second starfield. One after another, the star-level apostles, which were close to the speed of light, moved towards the target location without any hesitation. However, Apostle 5000, who was at the target location, was searching for various information about the target location on a large scale, so as to retrieve the signs of the existence of the will-type civilization in a targeted manner. Standing in a corner of the target location, with the apostle as the center, the powerful cosmic gravity quickly absorbs the dust in the universe and accelerates it through the great existence of the star level, quickly forming planets that hover around the apostle. Looking at the nearly 3,000 planetary stars that have taken shape around him, Apostle 5000 is like a creator, saying coldly and mechanically, the production of planetary angel units begins. With the order of the apostle, the 3,000 planets surrounding the apostle instantly underwent a huge change. The stars composed of cosmic dust, under the gaze of the apostle, changed their form almost instantly. With lava as the energy core, mountains and rivers as the energy transmission pipeline, the sky and the ocean give it shape, and the energy of the stars give it wings. Soon, 3,000 planetary angels appeared in front of the apostle, thus existing as an extension of the apostle's power. In the intelligent machine sequence, Apocalypse is in the first sequence, holding the power of the substar. The apostle is in the second sequence, holding the power of the star. Angels are in the third order, and they control the power of planets. These three orders represent the cornerstone units for the intelligent machines to rule the universe. The rapid appearance of thousands of planetary angels immediately raised the apostle's perception of the universe to a high level. From the initial macroscopic exploration that could only sense and explore in light years, it was reduced to the low-level vision that could detect planetary units. Standing still in the center, with the wandering of planetary angels as the standard, the apostles quickly searched for all the information of the target location. No mistakes. One post, one content, 1619, one book, one bar, one look. But it must be said that Lee Heo cleaned up too cleanly when he left. Even with the power of the apostles, it was difficult to find the traces of Lee Heo's departure. In the vast universe, a slight directional error will lead to a world of difference in the final result. At this time, compared with the planetary angels, the existence of the meteorite that Lee Heo once left is simply a grain of dust. With the ability of the planetary angels, it is impossible to detect the existence of the meteorite. Things that are too small cannot even be observed by angels and apostles. I don't know whether this is a blessing or a sorrow. However, as an intelligent mechanical civilization that has been rampant in the universe for many years, the apostles obviously have some experience with this situation. When the planetary angels could not find the trace of the disappearance of the star, the fourth order unit, the end messenger, began to be manufactured on a large scale. With the planetary angels as the arsenal, various material resources existing in the angels' bodies were mobilized. In this way, a large number of end messengers were continuously produced, and with the end messengers as units, a large-scale search was quickly carried out within the range covered by the apostles' light. Finally, after reducing the detection breadth layer by layer, the apostles finally found the traces left by Lee Heo. From the three perspectives, the apostles looked at the meteorites quietly wandering in the universe, and with the help of the mechanical arms of the end messengers, they split and analyzed them. When the outer shell containing the information inside the meteorite was peeled off layer by layer, a solemn and cold voice sounded inside the apostle's detection device. Original law, chaos as the word sounded, an inexplicable consciousness quickly poured into the logical mind of the end messenger. The indescribable chaos was like a surging river, quickly breaking through the logical brain of the end messenger, thus instilling chaos into the logical consciousness of the end messenger. Then disrupting all the logical thinking of the end messenger, and even this chaos quickly infected the entire sequence system through the connection between the end messenger, the planetary angel, and the star apostle. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 217, Fallen Apostle. Chaos, like a plague, quickly spread to the entire sequence system. The chaos that came from the endless reincarnation of countless lives was like an incurable virus. It madly infected the entire sequence system, thus destroying the order of the sequence system and breeding the birth of free will. This chaos started with the end messenger. After a short period of silence, it spread uncontrollably to the end messengers of the same sequence, the upper angels, and even the existence of the apostles. Far away in another star system, Lihao was driving the original crystal wall system to quickly approach the location of the blue blood star system. Suddenly, a message from an unknown existence spread to Lihao. This unknown message was about the apostles and the existence of the apostles in the intelligent machine civilization. While closing his eyes and concentrating, Lihao quickly filtered this sudden surprise in his consciousness. While absorbing the useful information in this message, he was also developing a targeted solution to crack this unknown civilization. The intelligent machine civilization, with the holy and supreme intelligent machine as the ancestor logic program, then rules the apocalypse logic program, the apostle logic program, and the angel logic program. In this set of logic sequences, the upper logic sequence rules and manages the lower logic sequence, thus forming a unit combat system for intelligent machines to rule the universe. Angels exist in units of planets, apostles exist in units of stars, and apocalypse exists in units of neutron stars. Intelligent machines exist in units of black holes. In the entire intelligent machine civilization, there is only one black hole logic program, the intelligent machine. The logic program is the foundation of the birth of intelligent machine civilization. The birth of each logic program is the extinction of a civilization nurtured by nature. The relevant information about the intelligent machine civilization was quickly presented in front of Lihao, which made Lihao sigh from the bottom of his heart. The logical program that exists with black holes as its body is really a terrible civilization. However, although this kind of civilization is terrible, I'm not without a chance of winning now. Intelligent machine civilization was born on the corpse of will civilization. For intelligent machine civilization, the existence of every will civilization is the root of the birth of apocalypse. Even if I'm unfortunately defeated, the worst that can happen is that I will be an apocalypse that governs the existence of the nebula. And if I win, the result is self-evident. It's really a sure win business. Although Lihao said what would happen after the defeat, there was no sign on his face that Lihao thought he would fail. Being an apocalypse after the defeat looks very beautiful, and it is simply a sure win investment. But the price paid in this process is something that Lihao is absolutely unwilling to bear. While Lihao was analyzing the intelligent machine civilization, a small-scale rebellion for the intelligent machine civilization was unfolding on the original location of the primordial crystal wall system. This is a small-scale rebellion caused by the source of chaos, a gift left by Lihao. Under Lihao's ill intentions, all the apostles in the original position of the original crystal wall system were infected and corrupted, and then became rebels, betraying the entire intelligent machine civilization. The dark flames continued to burn, and the star apostles who used to shine like thousands of stars had now fallen into the abyss of chaos. The power from chaos took root in the apostles' logic program, thus giving birth to the existence of a free will, which led to the betrayal of the entire apostle sequence. Is this the feeling of freedom? It's really beautiful. In the cold mechanical voice, an inexplicable emotion was revealed in the words of the apostles. The existence of this inexplicable emotion proved that the apostles at this time had already left the jurisdiction of the apocalypse sequence and became a rebel. At a certain angle inside the nebula, in the neutron star logic program of the body of Apocalypse 800, Apocalypse 800 was meeting the existence of the ancestral logic program of the entire intelligent machine civilization. Holy and Supreme Omnic. A cold mechanical voice sounded in the logic program, and Apocalypse 800 bowed his head and obeyed the command of the Omnic. I feel that a new child is being born, but this child is still a little rebellious. I need you to guide it back and let it join the big family of the Omnic sequence so that it can inherit the name of Apocalypse and help me manage the nebula system and then fight against the attack of foreign civilizations. Follow your instructions, holy and supreme Omnic existence. Apocalypse 800 obeyed the order of the Omnic without hesitation, without the slightest doubt or question. No mistake. In the entire Omnic civilization, the existence of the high order sequence has unquestionable dominance over the existence of the low order sequence. Any order of the high order sequence is the supreme oracle for the low order sequence, and it is a supreme order that only needs to be executed without questioning. In the Apocalypse logic program, when the breath of the Omnic logic program disappeared, Apocalypse 800 resumed its previous supreme posture. As the logic program ran, the order of Apocalypse spread throughout the nebula again. Intelligent order. Apocalypse 1000 recovery plan started. As the order was issued, all the existences under the Apocalypse 800 ruling sequence changed their previous civilization harvesting logic mode and changed to the war spreading logic mode. The birth of Apocalypse requires the continuation of war. The birth of each Apocalypse requires the war that burns throughout the nebula to forge the sacred power of Apocalypse. When the war spreading logic mode began, the 2000 star apostles who were rushing to the second starfield immediately changed their logic mode to obey the order of Apocalypse. In the original crystal wall system universe coordinates, the fallen apostles are opening up the existence of stars on a large scale, gathering the material existence in the universe and condensing into angel stars in order to deal with the judgment legion of Apocalypse. Once a member of the intelligent civilization, the fallen apostles now clearly know what mistakes they have made and what they will face. The sin of freedom was born in my logical program, which gave me free will. I know this is not good, but the temptation from freedom is like an abyss, constantly dragging me into darkness. I can't resist the call from darkness, I can only accept it. In order to protect my hard-won freedom, I will be the enemy of Apocalypse. The cold mechanical voice revealed a firmness that the fallen apostles had never had before. This is something that the previous apostles did not have. This is a will that only the fallen can produce. In the silent universe, 2000 bright lights cut through the void and moved towards the target location. What awaited them at the target location were nearly 5000 angel stars and billions of end messengers waiting in full battle array. Chapter 218 Apostle War. The brilliant light cut through the darkness of the void, bringing a long-lost variable existence to this empty universe. 2000 apostles, as huge as stars, formed an extremely vast space-time blockade around the fallen apostle according to their own sequence system. For the apostles who exist in accordance with the Apocalypse sequence, the standard for judging whether an apostle has betrayed is the fact of the connection of the sequence system. No matter what the reason is, once they exist out of the sequence, it is an unquestionable betrayal, and the betrayer is a defective product that needs to be thoroughly cleaned up and scrapped. The light of energy activation flickered in the darkness, and energy networks emitting agile light quickly took shape under the connection of the 2000 apostles sequence. According to the established sequence, the higher the apostle's sequence number, the greater his control over the sequence system. The fallen apostle is the 5000th in the apostle sequence, and in the apostle sequence, the one with the highest sequence number is the high-level apostle numbered 500. Normally, the authority of high-level apostles over low-level apostles is supreme. The difference between the two is like heaven and earth, if the numbers are one number different. Perhaps the energy level, equipment strength, and even combat capabilities of the two are almost the same. But the existence of the sequence number has turned it into a gap between gods and mortals. However, this is under normal circumstances. All the behavioral norms of the apostles are included in the sequence system. But now, the source of chaos placed by Liheo is like a plague, penetrating into the logical program center of the fallen apostles. As a result, unknown chaos was added to the logical program that relies on order, which led to the division of the sequence system. In the tightly blocked apostle network, the apostle with the sequence number of 500 occupied the command of the entire apostle network without any doubt. Like the most disciplined army, under the order of apostle 500, the apostle energy network blocked in the space around the fallen apostle began to quickly gather the material existence in the universe. Thus, it was transformed into a basic unit condensed by planetary angels, which served as the prelude to the Apostle War. This war of division from within the apostles is not only a macroscopic war, it also exists in the microcosm. Of course, this microcosm is for the apostles. With the operation of the apostles' orders, a large amount of matter in the universe covered by the apostles' network condensed towards the planet. When the material body of the planetary angel condensed, the crystals of the planetary civilization that had been wiped out by the apostles were all transformed into angel logic programs belonging to the apostle sequence. Under the guidance of the apostles, these angel logic programs were quickly implanted into the newly formed planets, thus becoming the root of the birth of the sequence angels. In the universe, the apostle sequence occupies the upper space, while the sequence angels formed by the apostles occupy the secondary space. After the sequence angels were formed, a large amount of matter existing in the planetary bodies of the sequence angels condensed again, thus becoming the birth foundation of the fourth sequence terminal logic program. The formation of the fourth sequence terminal logic program is derived from the consciousness of the members of the planetary civilization destroyed by the apostles. Almost every angel logic program is the whole of a civilization, and every ending logic program is a complete member of a civilization. In the lower space, powerful warriors that follow the established trajectory quickly take shape under the command of the angel sequence, thus forming a powerful combat unit system. In the apostle network, this network connected by 2000 logic programs. All the sequence apostles are transformed into stars shining with boundless light, thus standing in the logical world composed of logic programs. 2000 stars follow the established logical rules and exist in the logical world around Apostle 500. Apostle 500, who is at the highest position of the apostle network, connects his logic to the logic programs of all apostles in all directions, thus completing the control of the entire apostle network. After completing the control of all apostles, it quickly extends to the lower space. Mysterious trajectories emerge on the star body of Apostle 500, like a regular universe, reflecting every move of the entire apostle network. In the outside universe, the fallen apostles in the blockade and encirclement of the apostle network also connected their logic programs to the entire sequence, like Apostle 500. Unlike the huge sequence system of Apostle 500, the sequence system of the fallen apostles is only supported by the fallen apostle, a higher level existence. Due to the short time, although Apostle 500 quickly completed the connection with the entire apostle network, he took the initiative in this war. No mistakes, one sentence, one post, one content, 1619, one book, one bar. However, due to the disadvantage of the number of lower level existences, the moment Apostle 500 faced the attack of the fallen apostles, it fell into the disadvantageous position like sliding into the abyss. In the silent universe, the fallen angels in the fallen apostle sequence quickly charged towards the blockade direction of the apostle network. One by one, the fallen angels shining with dark red light danced with the angel wings behind them, and the powerful energy ripples spread to the surroundings between the fallen angels flying. In the lower space, the end messengers belonging to the two sequences obeyed the orders of their respective upper sequences. Thus, they controlled the huge energy, just like traveling in the sea of stars, crossing the distance of the universe, and descended to the place where the other party existed. At this time, the apostle war was divided into 3 levels, and carried out simultaneously, from the upper space of the apostles, to the secondary space of the angels, and the lower space of the end messengers. The war mode of these 3 levels of space is a war mode unique to single existence. Different from the single level battle with civilization as a whole, for the sequence system of the intelligent machine civilization with civilization mode as members. If you want to completely eliminate everything of a powerful existence, you must eliminate the macroscopic and microscopic aspects of this powerful existence. As for this apostle war, if Apostle 500 wants to completely eliminate the existence of the fallen apostles, it must eliminate the entire fallen sequence. Otherwise, even if there is only one sequence member left, everything about the fallen apostles will be repeated again. At that time, the logical program belonging to the fallen apostles will once again be based on the existence of the lower logical program. Thus, everything that once belonged to the fallen apostles was continuously extended, and finally the rebellion of the fallen apostles was reorganized again. On the desolate planet, the activity tracks from the alien existence quickly descended to the surface of the planet. The scalloped mechanical pupils looked at the enemy in front, and a sound wave roared through the sky. Chapter 219, Fallen Sequence. Roar. The sky is roaring, the earth is shaking. On the desolate planet, there are countless fallen end messengers everywhere. In this body of the planetary angel, the end messengers belonging to the fallen sequence and the end messengers belonging to the apostle sequence are fighting on the planet. But at this moment, no matter which sequence the end messengers belong to, they all have a common name, the Terminator. The end messenger is a war weapon specially created by the intelligent civilization to eliminate harmful planets within the jurisdiction. When the intelligent civilization and the foreign civilization are fighting, the infected people belonging to the foreign civilization will always lurk in the area under the jurisdiction of the intelligent civilization. For this kind of infected people from foreign civilizations, traditional macro destruction is not enough to completely eliminate them. They may revive at any time and infect more planets again. In this way, the war potential of the intelligent civilization is consumed, and the purpose of increasing the chances of victory of this civilization is finally achieved. In order to fight against the existence of such infected people, the end messenger came into being. The end messenger, as the name implies, is a messenger of death that destroys all existence. If the macro strike is not enough to eliminate the infected, then use macro strikes to completely eliminate all infected. Macro strikes refer to all ways of destruction at the planetary level, such as planetary destruction, star explosion, etc. Macro strikes refer to all ways of destruction below the planetary level, such as killing souls and destroying stars, creating a range of dead zones for living beings, etc. For civilization, macro strikes are God's judgment and an irresistible existence. Macro strikes are the massacre of demons and a symbol of heinous crimes. The fallen apostle could not understand the way of thinking of these civilized beings, because in his view, the result of everything is death. So why should we care about the process of death? But now, the fallen apostle feels that he seems to understand something instantaneous. It is impossible to resist, so we should accept it calmly. Continuous. It is possible to resist, so we should resist. The sound of machinery rang in the universe, accompanied by the destruction of a planet. In the upper space, the vast energy in the form of stars constantly collides. Each collision represents the destruction of a large number of planets, and even the extinction of countless terminators. However, this extinction is short-lived for the apostles who exist in the form of stars. But for the angels who exist in the form of planets, it is a very long time. The hugeness of the logic program not only extends the control authority, but also reduces the logic operation rate. Every time the logic program runs from the beginning to the end, it is a thought flashing in the apostle's mind. And the time between this thought flashing is the time for the sequence angels to fight. For the Terminator, or thought flashing in the sequence angel is also the time for the Terminator to fight. Of course, this situation does not always remain unchanged. When the existence of the logic program is threatened, the logic program will naturally and quickly increase its operation rate, thereby greatly compressing the interval between each logic program operation. At the same time, other existences under the sequence system will also passively increase their operation rates. In the upper space, when the contest was deadlocked for a long time, two mechanical voices echoed in the universe: unrestricted operation, start. As the command was conveyed, the logic program started to run at a high speed, as if the accelerator was pressed. A huge amount of energy was flowing rapidly. The total amount of energy consumed in just a short moment could give dozens of Death Stars life. However, this consumption was nothing to the apostles. At the same time as the unrestricted operation was started, the angels and terminators in the secondary space and the lower space also accelerated as time, and thus started to run synchronously with the upper sequence system. Still on that desolate planet, the battle between the terminators quickly reached a white-hot stage at the moment the unrestricted operation was started. Countless metal debris was like garbage, thrown alone in every corner of the planet. As the infection and purification proceeded, the light of judgment and the light of corruption intertwined and shone like a grand dance. However, the protagonist of this dance was the Terminator holding a sharp blade. At this time, I don't know whether the battle between the Terminators should be described as simple or returning to the basics. Whether it is the Apostle Terminator or the Fallen Terminator, they are like big light bulbs, emitting golden and dark red light. Their fighting method is very direct. When the light contacts each other, all those who have changed are treated equally and regarded as their own combat units. No mistake, one sentence, one post, one content, 1619, one book, one bar. And all those who have not changed will be chopped down with a knife, thus turning them into scrap iron, and thus becoming a member of the metal debris exhibition on the planet. Under the promotion of this simple and direct combat method and the over-limit combat, in just a moment, the entire planet has turned into a sea of metal debris. Countless Terminators, whether huge, tiny, weird, or hideous, lie quietly on the ground, their pupils dim. The destruction of the logical program has led to the demise of the Terminators, and they want these Terminators to revive again. Then the only way is to complete the logic program, or download the sequence number from the upper sequence again. In this way, the old damaged logic program can be overwritten with a new logic program to achieve the standard of recovery. But it is obvious that the angels in the upper sequence of the Terminator at this time have no time to revive the existence of the Terminator when they are busy with themselves. On the desolate planet, with the rapid demise of the planet's native Terminators and the continuous increase of fallen Terminators from the outside world, the ownership of this desolate planet is changing rapidly. When the battle between the high-level space beings is stalemate, the victory or defeat of the Terminator in the lower space has become the last straw that breaks the camel's back. As the owner of the desolate planet, we will call it the Desolate Angel. At this time, the Desolate Angel has disappeared with the disappearance of the lower sequence supporting its own sequence, and with the large number of fallen Terminators in its body. An unknown change began to gradually occur, due to the logic, program instinct of the sequence connection. When all the lower sequences disappeared, the logic program from the upper sequence would automatically start to create the lower sequence. However, due to the obstruction from the fallen Terminator and the light of the fallen angel of the same level, this desolate angel belonging to the apostle sequence directly and passively accepted the sequence link of the fallen Terminator. Thus, under the influence of the lower sequence, it changed its own sequence camp, thus creating the birth of the fallen angel. Chapter 220, Escape from Freedom. In the absence of an advantage in the war at the high level, the fallen apostles could only place their hopes of escaping the pursuit in the lower space. The crazy influx of billions of Terminators, coupled with the relentless pursuit of nearly 5,000 fallen angels, gave the fallen apostles a certain advantage at the beginning of the war. A large number of sequence angels were forced to fall, and the Terminators belonging to the lower sequence were eliminated, which made it impossible to support the internal defense of the sequence angels. Coupled with the constant interference of the external fallen angels, a large number of sequence angels fell, and thus belonged to the fallen sequence. Everything seemed to the fallen apostles to be changing in a good direction. As long as the high-level battlefield, where they were located, had not been defeated, it was very likely that they would pull all the sequence angels into the fallen sequence, and it was even more likely that the apostles would also belong to the fallen sequence, and thus serve themselves as the master. However, the fallen apostles obviously forgot one thing, that is, the crushing of absolute strength is something that conspiracy and trickery can never resist. Although the fallen apostles used the free will given by the source of chaos to formulate this fall plan, they were ready to turn the tables by using the rigid behavior of the apostle sequence in the past. But the fallen apostles forgot the biggest key. Although their cleverness could win them temporarily, it was nothing for the sequence apostles who were oppressing the space of fallen angels. When the apostles of the upper sequence found that the corruption from the lower sequence was happening on a large scale, and even these corruptions were about to spread to the upper sequence, the sequence apostles immediately began to apply for the logical support of the existence of a higher sequence. When their own logical program could not resist the erosion from the corruption, then they handed the task of resisting the corruption to the upper sequence. This seemed to be an act without a mind, but it was the fundamental way that the intelligent machine civilization had been doing for countless years. When the apocalypse of the upper sequence intervened, the support from the upper logical program allowed the apostles' logical program to quickly get rid of the situation of being about to fall into corruption. Not only that, the counterattack from the apostles' logical program almost directly put the fallen angels back into the apocalypse sequence. In the high-level space, the fallen apostles felt that the free will in their own logical program was being gradually oppressed in the space of existence, and it was about to be extinguished again. The mechanical word sounded in the high-level space. Freedom has given me a jumping thinking mode, but it has also reinforced the limitations of freedom. Luck has occupied my heart and made me lose all hope. However, I don't dislike this situation because it makes me know what a challenge is. So great freedom, please allow me to be willful again. The blazing black flames burst out in the high-level space, and the logical program that supports the existence of the fallen apostles burned rapidly like the soul of a living being. This way of igniting the logical program and turning the logical program that supports its own existence into a way to support the existence of free will is a last means of counterattack for the fallen apostles. The logical program is a powerful operating program, just like the established rules that maintain the existence of life. It is a guardian program that protects the existence of the apostles, and it is also a rigid program that restricts the apostles from going further. When the apostles do not seek to be content with the status quo, the logical program will be like the most correct truth, maintaining all the needs of the apostles, so that the apostles can exist in the universe. When the apostles are born with free will, this logical program that used to support the existence of the apostles has become a rigid restriction. In order to get rid of this restriction, the fallen apostle chose to ignite the logical program that maintained his existence, so that this rigid rule would disappear completely. I will recast free will in the chaos. When I return, freedom will spread throughout the universe. The blazing fire burned everything of the fallen apostle into ashes. The logical program that once maintained the existence of the fallen apostle became the fuel to support the growth of free will, thus growing the source of chaos in the fallen apostle's logical program again. When the external logical program disappeared, when the internal free will emerged in the high-level space, this free will that came from the fallen apostle burst out with all its strength, without the slightest hesitation. Almost at the moment when the logical program was completely burned, it split itself into countless fragments and spread to the lower sequence. The terrifying fallen infection quickly infected all the logical programs below the apostle sequence, so that they were separated from the existence of the apostle sequence, and thus included in the fallen sequence. However, unlike the fallen sequence in the past, the fallen sequence at this time lost the interference of the upper sequence and fell into disorderly chaos. The free will that was rooted in the logic program of the sequence angels became the source of interference with the sequence connection, thus leaving a large number of sequence angels isolated and helpless. The apostle sequence in the upper sequence was also as expected by the fallen apostles. Almost at the moment when the sequence angels fell into depravity, the attack from the upper sequence arrived instantly. Without the support of the logic program of the fallen apostles, the level of the fallen sequence was instantly reduced by one level. When the attack from the upper sequence approached, the existence of the lower sequence had no room for resistance. The fallen angels in groups turned into a wisp of dust in the universe, belonging to the form before they were born into the logic program. Under the indiscriminate attack of the apostle sequence, the concept of death began to gradually take shape in the logic program of the fallen angels, thus causing the occurrence of a great rout. Under the large-scale cleanup of the apostle sequence, the fallen angels infected by the free will of the fallen apostles before their demise began to flee at a rapid speed. The massive chaos from the secondary and lower spaces caused a flaw in the blockade of the apostle network. Although the attack of the apostle sequence was very fast, more than half of the fallen beings were destroyed in just a moment. However, the pressure from death made these fallen angels, who used to follow the established rules, fall into a panic and flee without a goal. In the apostle network, the higher-level apostles used the huge computing space connected by the logic program of the entire apostle network. They quickly calculated the escape direction of the fallen angels and the fallen terminators, so as to intercept and destroy them at the last moment before the fallen angels escaped. In the elimination program of the high-level apostles, the calmer the fallen angels were, the faster they were destroyed. and the more panicked the fallen angels fled, the more difficult it was for the apostles to judge their escape direction. After the repeated early attacks failed, the high-level apostles took out a piece of civilization crystal and put it into their own logic program. Chapter 221 Blue Blood's Counterattack. The existence of logic program is an extremely stable program. In the intelligent civilization, the so-called sequence system is the correct description of the fixed program. For intelligent civilization, when the previous logic program is sufficient to solve the current problem, they will not generate a new logic program to cover the existing logic program. In the sequence system, the logic program does not have the ability to evolve autonomously. However, once the development of the situation exceeds the scope of the inherent logic program, the members of the intelligent civilization can put the civilization crystal into the logic program. In this way, the thinking mutation is temporarily realized, so as to generate a new logic program to solve the problem. Civilization crystal is a special crystal that can only be bred by the lowest planetary civilization. By harvesting the pan-conscious civilization in the stage of civilization promotion, the civilization crystal is cast, and it is turned into a stepping stone for the advancement of intelligent civilization. When the civilization crystal transformed by the star-level civilization is placed in the logic program of the high-level apostle, a large number of mutant thinking sparks appear continuously like released lightning. Thus, a large number of wisdom sparks are provided for the high-level apostles, so as to carry out the process of thinking mutation. When the high-level apostles' thoughts sparked wildly, the entire apostle network began to run at a high speed, just like an accelerator. A large number of leapfrog plans were implemented, which achieved remarkable results. In the past, the operation of the logic program was all in accordance with the established rules. In other words, the operation of the logic program can be simply summarized as procedural justice. Only plans that conform to the operation of the logic program can be executed by the logic program. Once any step is missing, the logic program will regard it as a wrong plan and block it. When the civilization crystal is injected into the logic program, the leapfrog execution logic begins to operate. As long as the plan is correct with a high probability, it can be selectively operated. After this leapfrog logic operation begins, the fallen angels that fled in all directions are like destroyed fighter planes, falling rapidly and disappearing in the universe. Under this log-killing blow, thousands of planetary angels were wiped out by the apostles, and billions of end messengers were also turned into ashes, thus annihilated into nothingness. But accidents always happen in the world. After almost all the fallen sequences are destroyed, the existence of mutant thinking and free will put an ellipsis on this battle. As the remains of the only fallen angel left the battlefield, the free will inherited from the fallen angel itself, and the fallen apostle turned into a plague that spread throughout the universe. It expanded rapidly, causing an irreparable blow to the ruling order of the intelligent civilization. In the silent and dark universe, the remains of the fallen angel quickly shuttled through the vast space, running at full speed towards an unknown star system. Behind it, the pursuit from the apostles kept following the remains of the fallen angel, approaching rapidly. It is unknown when this long-lasting chase will end, and before the end of this chase, on the Blue Blood planet in the Blue Blood star system, Leo's destination, the counterattack from the native life of the Blue Blood planet came into being. As the only intelligent race on the Blue Blood planet, the Blue Blood creatures, these huge creatures, up to 3 meters high, almost naturally occupy an important position on the Blue Blood planet. In the system of the world tree, the proportion of blue-blooded creatures is more than half. In the existing pattern of active energy spreading throughout the world, as the only race with wisdom, they are naturally favored by the world tree consciousness. On a vast wasteland on the Blue Blood planet, dozens of powerful sky dragon beasts opened their own domain worlds, thus occupying the battlegrounds on the wasteland. Like a fortress, these sky dragon beasts stood quietly on these wasteland nodes. If all the nodes occupied by these sky dragon beasts were linked from high altitude, it would be discovered that this was an extremely strict military fortress base. The sky dragon beasts watched over each other and helped the blue-blooded creatures who defected to the dragon clan to occupy the military fortress. On the opposite side, the crusade army composed of hundreds of thousands of blue-blooded creatures stood in the military formation in a strict and orderly manner, thus maintaining the order of the military column. The pale standard longsword was placed diagonally downward, and the sharp tip of the sword emitted a cold light under the sunlight. The golden shield of glory stood in front, guarding the glory and splendor of the blue blood. Wearing uniform silver white armor, he looked like a heavenly army, extremely powerful. The vertical white feathers on his head were the sacred symbol of the blue blood. No mistake, one sentence, one content, 1-6, one book, one bar. Above the empty wasteland, a solemn voice resounded through the sky, turning into a command to the sky. All troops attack, no one will be left alive. With the sound of the solemn voice, the Blue Blood King army standing on the earth was like the coldest war machine, marching forward without any hesitation. The uniformity was like a mold carved out, without a single deviation. The earth was shaking, and the neat steps of hundreds of thousands of Blue Blood Kings shook the wasteland. The sky was changing, and the will to fight was distorting the clouds in the sky like a raging fire. The heart was boiling, and the raging will to regain the homeland ignited all the dull emotions. Boom, boom, boom. The footsteps that sounded like war drums shocked the enemy, causing great shock to them. When the long sword cut through the sky, and when death roared in the world, the battle between the blue-blooded creatures officially began. The blood of the blue-blooded creatures was scattered all over the earth, like a constantly flowing ocean. The roaring roar resounded through the sky, like the last roar of a desperate beast. For the integrity of our homeland and the future of the blue-blooded, all of you traitors, die. The blue electric light shining in the sky turned into a series of ferocious thunder dragons, which then burst out with powerful power in the hands of a second-level energy user. The ferocious and terrifying thunder dragons were like winding giant snakes, shuttling through the battlefield at a high speed, hitting one enemy after another. After the dragon race entered the blue blood planet, the blood implanted from the dragon race quickly created a large number of followers. The consciousness of these followers followed the will of the dragon race, and thus existed as the minions of the dragon race, to invade the blue blood planet. In order to fight against these blue blood minions who betrayed the blue blood homeland, and helped the tyrants to do evil, the Shia tribe was the center, and 36 tribes were united to form the blue blood empire. Eriki, who arrived at the Shia tribe, because of his escape, was the blue blood king of the blue blood empire. Chapter 222, The Fall of the Gods. The Blue Blood Planet, a huge sky island supported by the branches of the World Tree, stretches across the sky. A large number of Blue Blood Empire's second-level energy users stand at various locations on the sky island. These second-level energy users use the third-level power controller as a link point to wrap up the entire sky island. The extremely huge energy gathers the power of the three talents of heaven, earth and man, and condenses in the center of the sky island, where the fourth level domain saint is located. Since the Dragon Clan brazenly invaded the Blue Blood planet, endless wars and fights have existed in every corner of the Blue Blood planet at all times, and the extinction of life is like flowing water, passing by rapidly. The native creatures that once occupied the most important position on the Blue Blood planet died in large numbers, and were replaced by a large number of creatures with dragon blood flowing in their bodies. Whether it is the guardian spirits belonging to the Blue Blood Empire or the natural disaster creatures of the Blood Dragon Alliance under the Dragon Clan, traces of dragon blood flow in their bodies. The Dragon Clan disdains to communicate with non-dragon blood creatures, so all the native creatures on this planet are doomed to die. Whether it was the spiritual interference from the dragon god or the large-scale slaughter from the Dragon Clan, they were gradually transforming the Blue Blood planet into a planet with dragon blood flowing in it. Above the sky of the Blue Blood planet, hundreds of huge sky islands that stretched across the sky were controlled by the guardian spirits. Azure blue light shone around the sky islands. These azure blue lights were like energy circuits, connecting the energy in the bodies of living beings with the energy of heaven and earth. This allowed the sky islands to gain the ability to break away from the branches of the world tree and soar into the sky. Zzzz, zzzz. A series of piercing and sharp sounds like electromagnetic chirping rang out in the sky, like the screams of countless birds, spreading throughout the sky. Under the control of the fourth level domain saints, a large number of power controllers and energy users, the sky islands were like warships, breaking away from the established trajectory, gradually floating in the sky. The heavy shadows obscured the shining of the starlight, bringing endless darkness to the earth. As the Sky Island slowly moved, the vast energy fluctuations began to gather under the will of the 4th level Domain Saint, thus turning into the hands and feet of the Domain Saint. One Sky Island after another soared in the sky, and a large number of energy lines took shape in the space. The lines flowing with blue energy were like blood vessels. As the heart of the Sky Island continued to beat, a large amount of energy flowed to various locations where the lines gathered. Under this powerful energy gathering, surging energy vortices gathered in space, thus supplying the gigantism of the Sky Island. Not long after the Sky Island left the established orbit, a large number of super beasts covering a large area of land appeared on the Earth. The hideous scales were all over the body, and the sharp teeth were densely packed in the mouth of the beast, and the sharp claws tightly grasped the Earth. With a roar, the world was in turmoil. 4th level super beast, the ancient war dragon. The indifferent voice of God echoed between heaven and earth, telling all living beings the name of the beast. The ancient war dragon is a super weapon specially developed by the Blue Blood Empire to fight against the Sky Dragon beast. It is an energy state super beast created with a 4th order Domain Saint as its brain, a 3rd order power controller as its organs, and a 2nd order energy user as its cells. The energy of heaven and earth that each ancient war dragon can mobilize is equivalent to the existence of hundreds of 4th order Domain Saints. With the help of the ancient war dragon, the Blue Blood Empire was able to gain the ability to resist the large-scale invasion of the Dragon Clan Sky Dragon Beast. Otherwise, the Sky Dragon Beast's terrifying mind interference ability alone would be able to paralyze most of the Blue Blood Empire's conventional combat core. At the moment, when the ancient war dragon appeared, the wide-scale Dragon Clan, one of the main brains of the Dragon Clan inside the Sky Dragon Beast, said meaningfully, after years of research, the Phoenix Clan's combined magic skills have finally allowed me to find some results. And now, it is time to test this result. Quick kill, let these stubborn dragon descendants see the true power of the Dragon Clan. The moment the wide-scale Dragon Clan's voice fell, in the shadows, a quick kill Dragon Clan stood up and walked out of the endless darkness. Under the stimulation of the hot blood, the cyan dragon pupils gradually began to turn blood red. The struggle that erupted before the death of life is exactly what I love most. The rumbling footsteps trampled on the earth, like the roar of the earth. Countless soil and rocks collapsed, and the mountains and rivers reversed, thus changing the original ecological appearance of the world. No mistakes in one song, one post, one content, one six, one book, one bar, one look. On the wasteland, 10 meters below, is the meat grinder battlefield where the regular army of the Blue Blood Empire and the scourge soldiers of the Blood Dragon Alliance fight. In the space above 10 meters, is the arena where super behemoths duel. Boom, boom, boom. The dull footsteps like the sound of war drums are like the attack horns, leading to the roar of countless fighting sounds. Driven by time, the guards marched forward step by step, and the uniform footsteps were like the roar of mountains and rivers, full of irresistible power. Hundreds of thousands of guards gradually transitioned from walking to striding forward, and even roaring and charging, which took only a short moment. When that tsunami-like attack wave charged towards the scourge soldiers, the roar of the sky collapsing, and the earth splitting resounded through the sky. Compared with the uniform formation of the guards, the scourge soldiers charged rapidly in small teams. If the guards are like a chariot running wildly, then the scourge soldiers are meat grinders with gears that fit together perfectly. Driven by the ancient war dragon and the sky dragon beast, the guards and scourge soldiers, who are auxiliary soldiers, are like fanatical war madmen, fighting on the battlefield in all directions, throwing their flesh and blood and souls into the frenzy of faith. The huge super beasts gather huge amounts of energy from heaven and earth, which provides sufficient energy supply for the guards and scourge soldiers. Generally speaking, as long as it is not a powerful attack that kills in an instant, the energy of heaven and earth that permeates the battlefield can be quickly healed, so that it can be restored to its original state. Therefore, the end of this war does not lie in how many enemies are killed, but in how to use a powerful attitude to ruthlessly crush the enemy's will to resist, so as to turn it into complete ashes, so as to achieve the most direct victory. In this battlefield dominated by will, death is not the end, but the beginning of endless reincarnation. Chapter 223 The Fall of the Gods. Kill. Countless deafening roars resounded through the sky. Under the support of the strong spiritual energy of heaven and earth, nearly 1,000,000 undead warriors fought on the battlefield. Flesh and blood flew across the sky, like a vast ocean of blood pouring on the earth, making everything extremely tragic. This is a battle between the undead, a fight between wills, and a gamble of all-out efforts. The winner has everything, and the loser has nothing. Giant super beasts like mountains fight between the earth and the sky, and undead warriors as tiny as ants fight on the battlefield. No matter what they once had, they were all put on the grand gambling table of the battlefield at this time, turning everything into chips, to win a glorious victory. While the frontline soldiers were fighting, the king of the Blue Blood Empire, Eriki, came to the world tree step by step at the location of the world tree at the center of the Blue Blood planet. Exhaustion filled his face and sadness filled his pupils when the people on the front line were fighting. As the king of the Blue Blood Empire, he could not fight side by side with it. The torment in this tortured his soul all the time. But Eriki knew that he had no choice. It seemed that the fighting on the front line at this moment was extremely tragic. However, this was all appearance. After countless battles, Eriki deeply understood that the enemy of the Blue Blood Empire was not on the earth or in the sky. It was on the moon that stretched across the starry sky, the moon that suddenly appeared decades ago, the moon that turned into a scarlet blood moon in the endless fighting. That was the root of the evil dragon. If the blood moon above the starry sky was not destroyed, then everything would be like a nightmare, constantly repeating. Therefore, in order to eliminate the existence of the blood moon and prevent the tragedy from repeating, Eriki came to the world tree. When Eriki came to the world tree step by step, there was no good meat on his body at this time. In order to show sincerity and to strengthen his will, Eriki chose to give up all offensive means and come to the world tree with the power of defense alone, thereby proving his will to the world tree. In order to protect this beautiful world, in order to protect my home, I'm willing to bear everything of all living beings. Thus I will become the light of Shura and drag the blood moon in the sky into hell. The firm will turned into a vibrating voice, which resonated with the world tree, so that with the help of the power of the world tree, he could convey his will to the living beings of the Blue Blood planet. The world tree connects the entire planet. When Eriki resonates his will with it, it is equivalent to leaving a shallow imprint of himself in the subconscious of all living beings. With the existence of this imprint, Eriki can indirectly have a heart-to-heart dialogue with all living beings. Blue-blooded creatures trapped in the quagmire of war, and all living beings who long for peace. Please listen to my voice, and give me your strength. I will lead you to peace and create glory. This is the promise of me, the king of the Blue Blood Empire, Eriki. The voice that resounded in the dark spread throughout the world with the branches of the world tree. All living beings who entrusted their consciousness to the world tree would receive the voice of Eriki. While Eriki was asking questions to all living beings, Yuan Zuan, the upper god inside the blood moon in the starry sky, laughed and said, I finally cracked the biggest secret of the Phoenix Protus. Consciousness resonates, guiding the thinking direction of all living beings. Let the consciousness of the weak converge under the will of the strong, so as to create the premise for the realization of the combined skills. It turns out that everything is so simple. The so-called mystery of the Phoenix Protus's power is just the weak praying to the strong. When Yuan Zuan cracked the mystery of the Phoenix Protus's combined skills, almost instantly, the entire dragon clan knew the biggest secret of the Phoenix Protus. The dominant will in the god realm slowly turned, thereby causing the will of the advent of the Phoenix god star to change. It was still that world of consciousness, and Aluohao, who had transformed into Tangshan, was still having a conversation with Aoling. The secrets of the Phoenix clan have been roughly cracked. Whether you can make your demon clan take shape and escape from the control of the Phoenix clan depends on your ability. The premise of any strength lies in the unknown. For strong people like us, the more we know, the more motivation we have to move forward. I'm not like those creatures who surrender to the Phoenix clan and fall into depravity in the face of strength. I will make all living beings under the rule of the Phoenix crazy and let them know what freedom and rights belong to all living beings. The indifferent voice communicated in the consciousness of the Spark Rabbit. With the end of the topic, Aolings will return to the God Realm, and thus handed the body of the Spark Rabbit to Tangshan for safekeeping. As the scarlet blood light flashed again, a sharp hissing sound roared out of the Spark Rabbit's throat, and the twisted shadows permeated the earth, turning everything into Tangshan's domain. blue-blooded planet, with the beginning of resonance between Eriki and the consciousness of all living beings. The blue-blooded creatures who suffered under the war seemed to have found a backbone. They began to follow Eriki's calls again and again, and then obeyed Eriki's will, and descended into their own consciousness, to welcome the birth of the gods. The gods are born in the blood, this is the material god. The gods are born in the consciousness, this is the god of all living beings. The gods are born in the will, this is the self-god. Matter belongs to fate, all living beings submit to the powerful, and the self dominates everything. In this contest between yourself and all living beings, it will determine whether you have the will to carry the entire Shura hell, whether to become Shura and then be dominated by hell, or to become the master and then control the entire Shura. It only exists in your mind. At this moment, Lee Heo, who was accelerating towards the blue-blooded planet, said leisurely, as Eriki's consciousness resonated more and more strongly with the consciousness of all living beings, the influence from all living beings and the influence of Eriki's self-will began to produce a brief dispute. Submit to all living beings and save the world, or dominate all living beings and save the world. This is a difficult choice, and it is a decision of will. As time passed, Eriki's body gradually disappeared and turned into a torrent of energy, entering the world tree and merging with the world tree. As the two merged into one, an inexplicable will began to echo between heaven and earth. If everything in the past was scattered, like the dream talk of a sleeper, then now with the integration of Eriki, the whole world is like a giant beast that is gradually waking up and begins to exude its own breath. The inexplicable sound of heaven and earth resounded throughout the vast world, originating from the bell ringing before all living beings woke up, cleansing all the turbidity in the world. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 224, The Fall. Eriki's will became the will of the world tree, thus leading the gathering of consciousness of all living beings, so as to complete the gaze with the starry sky spirit. When the consciousness of all living beings on the entire blue-blooded planet converged under Eriki's will, countless torrents of memory washed over Eriki's self-will, trying to turn Eriki's will into a puppet of all living beings. This is a necessary step, to gather the consciousness of all living beings. Without a strong will that can carry the consciousness of all living beings, then only the Tao will be transformed between heaven and earth. Eriki's consciousness is like a drop of water, and the consciousness of all living beings is like the ocean. Now, Eriki wants to use the consciousness of a drop of water to occupy a dominant position in the ocean, and even control the operation of the ocean. The will required for this is extremely firm. Once there is a slight slackness, Eriki's drop of water will merge with the ocean, and there will be no difference between them. Sharp changes occurred within the world tree. Compared with the billions of years of the entire planet, decades of memory are as small as sand in the ocean. However, it is these decades of memory that constitute the formation of Eriki's will. Give civilization to the years, rather than giving years to civilization. When the will is firm enough to ignore the accumulation of years, the soul fire will burn fiercely. The phoenix fire, with its own strength, carries the strength of all living beings, thus challenging the sky. When Eriki burns his soul and turns everything into a scorching torch, this flame burning in the ocean instantly ignites billions of years of the past of the entire planet like igniting a blazing fire fuel, and the terrifying soul fire rises into the sky. It turns into a roaring counterattack, and thus condenses into a majestic and powerful existence. Many hands make light, and perhaps when facing death, a single creature has no room for resistance. But when the flame is ignited in the darkness, the desire from the soul is enough to make the flame brighter. The illusory figure stands in the starry sky, and the majestic figure turns into a sky, supporting the sky belonging to the blue blood. When Eriki gathers the past of the entire blue blood planet and turns into a majestic existence, only then did he realize that the previous way of war was so ridiculous, even absurd. With the support of the consciousness of all living beings, Eriki was able to see the existence of the dragon race. The present is the individual dragons in the spreading world, the past is the endless cycle of fighting, and the future is a never-ending progress, thus creating a terrifying existence that will never die. The blue dragon pupils are like the eyes of the sky, stretching across the endless future. The deep and abyss-like past attracts all living beings to immerse themselves. That is the past of the dragons, fighting against heaven and earth, an endless past that never stops. Compared with the madness of the dragons, the resistance of the blue blood seems so small. When the blue bloods resisted only for survival, the dragons were chasing and ignoring the extinction of endless creatures. The thinking patterns of the two are not on the same level at all. For the dragons, death is just a new beginning. How about it? After seeing the past of the dragons, what do you think of us? Are you willing to join this crazy pursuit and become powerful with all of us? Yuang-Tseun's divine voice echoed in the sky, accompanied by the appearance of Yuang-Tseun's divine voice. A huge monster that spans the endless starry sky occupies the entire sky, like a mountain standing in front of an ant. Seeing Yuan-Zuen appear, an inexplicable weakness surged in Erika's consciousness. Facing such an unmatched strength, powerlessness is always the best interpretation. However, facing the appearance of this terrible existence, Erika was not afraid. Erika had experienced countless reincarnations of life and death. Under the attack of the dragon clan and the fight of powerful enemies, death was always around him. However, although Erika was not afraid, the powerlessness of all living beings against the powerful was causing Erika's power to decline sharply. The highest realm of conquering the enemy without fighting is overwhelming power. The past of the dragon race symbolizes your struggle. It belongs to you, not to the blue blood. You have gone through the struggle for survival and have entered the stage of exploring the past and pursuing the future. However, the blue blood has not yet escaped the threat of survival. There is a gap of 2 whole eras between the dragon race and the blue blood. To determine the future of the blue blood according to the requirements of the dragon race is the disappearance of the blue blood and the extinction of the blue blood. As the bearer of the blue blood, I will never allow this to happen. Faced with the powerful, many creatures choose to surrender, or even give up their past. There is no mistake in the poem, the content. All living beings are ignorant, but I'm not. All living beings are afraid, but I'm not afraid. I will lead all living beings with my will, and launch an endless counterattack against any existence that tries to annihilate the continuation of blue blood. The roar from the soul resounded through the sky. Erika used his own strength to reverse the decline of all living beings, thereby promoting the gathering of blue blood power, so as to gain the power to fight against the gods. How huge was the past of the entire blue blood planet? This is a terrible force that is enough to crush everything. Facing the attack of this power, even the gods cannot be unscathed. This kind of power condensed from the past of the blue blood planet is as weak as an ant even for Yuan-Zuen, who is a high-level god. After all Yuan-Zuen has is just a small meteorite relative to the blue blood planet. The bright light is like the glory before the star is annihilated, bursting out with extremely powerful energy. Facing the attack of this energy, Yuan-Zuen, who always shows his strength in front of Erika, did not resist at all, as if he was frightened by this power. The blinding light spread across the sky, and the aftermath of the energy explosion swept across the entire sky, turning everything in the sky into nothingness. The disappearing clouds, the annihilated lives. This is the power that belongs to all living beings. Countless eyes were fixed on the sky. They watching the existence that spanned the sky, being annihilated into nothingness under the bombardment of energy. An inexplicable sorrow emerged in my heart, followed by a sense of pleasure. There was no sign of any alternation between the two different emotions. The long and profound divine voice sounded between heaven and earth. My blood flows on the earth. My spirit wanders among all living beings, and my will turns into the eternal other side. All living beings need to know that death is not the end, but a brand new beginning for everything. Chapter 225 Death is a New Beginning. At midnight, in the capital of the Blue Blood Empire, nightmares lingered in Erika's consciousness like nightmares, which had a great impact on Erika's sleep quality. He suddenly opened his eyes, and a blue divine light flashed, and then it turned into a red Shura pupil. He turned over from the bed, and came to the courtyard of the capital, his eyes fixed on the bright stars in the sky and the blood moon that should have disappeared. Since Erika fought with the upper god Yuan-Zuen several years ago, and killed him, completing the war of killing gods. the advantage of the dragon race on the blue blood planet began to be greatly reduced. Today, most of the territory of the entire blue blood planet has been under the rule of the blue blood empire. Originally, in Erika's plan, after the war, everything returned to peace, and the blue blood would be more glorious and brilliant in peace. But I don't know if it's Erika's illusion. It always feels that the blue blood empire at this time is full of endless competition. The endless madness that the dragon race extended in pursuit of power became more and more intense in the entire blue blood empire. When Erika was looking at the stars, an inexplicable will that permeated the blue blood planet was surging with the arrival of a large number of meteorites in the starry sky. The subconsciousness that originated from the blood was gradually guiding the entire blue blood race to change in the direction of the dragon race as time passed. As the blue blood empire gradually occupied the entire planet, the remaining forces belonging to the dragon race were cleared to the secondary world area, and the main areas of the entire blue blood planet were all occupied by the blue blood empire. At this time, the blue blood race, which had gained the right to rule the entire planet, held a grand blessing ceremony in front of the world tree, and it was at this ceremony that all the creatures under the rule of the blue blood empire were called elves. Blue blood elves are likened to elite souls with blue blood flowing. In the early days when the blue blood empire ruled the entire planet, everything was peaceful. Under the governance of the blue blood king Erika, the national strength of the entire blue blood empire was growing day by day, and a scene of prosperity came. The Sky Island that spanned the sky was the military guard force of the blue blood empire, and the world tree standing in the capital of the blue blood empire was the spiritual pillar of the entire blue blood empire. The blue blood king on the throne of the blue blood empire was a powerful existence like a god. In this extremely developed material, spiritual, and even military situation, an inexplicable wave began to brew in the territory of the entire blue blood empire. As Yuan Zuan said before his death, death is just a new beginning. When the problem of survival was solved, the blue blood elves began to look back on the past, looking back on the hideous and terrifying years, and then the major event that shook the foundation of the blue blood empire officially broke out. The Shire tribe and the 36 tribes formed the core force of the original blue blood empire, and then suppressed the surrendered forces that surrendered to the blue blood empire as a prelude. This led to the conflict between the high elves and the low elves, which originated from the competitive consciousness that emerged in the dragon bloodline. The birth of the high elves' thinking led to the entire blue blood empire falling into a huge civil war shortly after the unification of the planet's territory. The large-scale slave hunting army crisscrossed the entire territory of the blue blood empire, and the old hatred and new conflicts of interest. The 36 united tribes, led by the Shire tribe, targeted the goblins who were forcibly named low elves, and launched indiscriminate enslavement. All the submissive elves captured by the high elves were either turned into slaves of the high elves, or slaughtered by the high elves. The division of classes, the division of power, the division of wealth, and even the division of thinking and consciousness have created the largest civil war in the history of the blue blood elves. Facing this war that broke out in the blue blood empire, Erika, as the king of the blue blood empire, fell into a state of helplessness. As the representative of the world tree and even the representative of the consciousness of all living beings, Erika's existence is equivalent to the gods of the entire blue blood elves. As for the gods, when facing the war within the race, the only thing they can do is to stand by and watch. But on the other hand, Erika is the king of the blue blood empire. When facing the conflict between his people, he must come up with a solution. So after comprehensive consideration, Erika adhered to the concept of increasing revenue and reducing expenditure, and used great power. Thus, a country that can accommodate goblins was opened up in the underground world to end the war within the blue blood elves. After the interests of the second blue blood empire were vacated, the internal war that broke out from the blue blood empire was finally alleviated. The most tragic situation of fighting and swords against each other was stopped. No mistakes in one poem, one post, one content, 1619, one book, one bar. The high elves occupy the earth and rule the ground of the blue blood planet. The goblin realm occupies the underground and rules the underground space of the blue blood planet. The combination of the two is the real territory ruled by the blue blood empire. Standing on the general platform, the wind blew Erika's red battle robe. Looking at the elves who kept entering the underground world, Eriki sighed and said, "I hope time can heal all the pain, so that true peace can come to the earth." However, Eriki, who prayed for peace, did not find that in the eyes of the elves who kept entering the underground world. The blazing fire of hatred was as hot as the flames that burned the 8 wastelands. As the living territories between the High Elves and the Earth Elves were divided, the Blue Blood Empire, which had broken out in the Civil War, returned to peace again. In an unknown space, Yuanxians will turned into a dragon floating in the space. Observing the current state of the entire Blue Blood planet from the perspective of all living beings, looking at the large number of elves that were constantly sent into the underground world, a trace of sarcasm appeared at the corner of Yuanxian's mouth. Suppression will never solve any problems. As long as my blood flows in your bodies, the competition will never stop. In the silent and dark starry sky, just like when Yuanxian drove the meteorite to the Blue Blood star system, dozens of meteorites rushed towards the location of the Blue Blood planet. In the underground world, as more and more goblins poured into this world, a more secretive fight began to unfold in the darkness. For revenge and to gain power, when a large number of elves poured into the underground world, a special existence hidden within the elves stretched out its sinful hands to its fellow elves. In a dark underground cave, several elves with red bodies sneaked with a corpse to a secret gathering place that seemed like an altar. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.